Welcome to the studio, everyone. My name is Ian, and are you a fan of Marvel? Good, because if you didn't, you wouldn't have clicked on this video. Today, I am releasing the full What If Marvel Had All the Rights from the Start video, from start to finish, from phase 1 to phase 6. This is the full story. I had started this series back in May of 2025, so this series is essentially a year old. So for the next 3 hours, settle in, get a nice warm blanket, a drink, and a snack, and listen to my stories of how I would structure the MCU if it had the rights from the start. And if you make it all the way to the end of the video, you will actually see a list of credits of who I would actually fan cast for some of these characters. Most characters would probably stay the same actors, but there are a lot of actors that I did fan cast myself personally that I think would be good choices for the role. So, with that being said, let's jump into this alternate 616 timeline. Our first movie in the new MCU is Captain America: The First Avenger, taking place in 1942. A young man named Steve Rogers wants to fight in the war to stop the Nazis. However, he is a very skinny and weak man. He joins a secret program after being admitted into the army by a former German scientist named Dr. Erskine, who made the first super soldier serum. Rogers takes the serum and gets the upgrade he always wanted. Eventually, he helps the army go after Hydra, a rogue Nazi science group led by their leader, Red Skull. Red Skull had found the ancient power of the gods, the Tesseract, and with this artifact, he was going to use it to help win the war for the Nazis. With the help of Bucky Barnes and the Howling Commandos, Captain America tries to stop Hydra. Steve gets a shield to help fight the Red Skull made out of vibranium, which at this point is the strongest metal on Earth. Along the way, Steve meets a man named Logan, who had strange bone claws, a rough attitude, and a love for cigars. During the war, Bucky Barnes falls off a train during a mission and is presumed dead. More determined to beat the Red Skull than ever, Steve walks into Hydra's base and gets on a plane to try and stop Red Skull from bombing the US. Red Skull tries to use the Tesseract by grabbing it with his bare hands, but it quickly evaporates him. Steve must put the aircraft in the freezing water or the plane's autopilot would cause damage to America. Steve sacrifices himself to save his country. The mid-credit scene shows Steve waking up 70 years later in 2012 when Nick Fury recruits him for the Avengers initiative. The post-credit scene shows Steve in the modern day at a museum learning about what happened to the love of his life, Peggy Carter, while also learning about what happened after the war. We then focus on a man walking behind Steve, puffing a cigar, smiling, and saying, "Good to have you back, bub." Steve turns around to see who said that, but the man is gone. The next movie would be Captain Marvel, taking place in 1996. An Air Force pilot named Carol Danvers is testing a new jet with a lightspeed engine powered by the Tesseract and created by Wendy Lawson. Their ship crashed and Carol Danvers absorbed the energy from the engine. She was left in a coma for over 6 years when the engine exploded back in 1990. The energy reached the not-so-pleasant race of beings out in the universe, the Skrulls. When Carol wakes up, she begins to develop powers and learns how to use them. She unintentionally had Nick Fury investigating her. Eventually, the two started working together as the Skrulls drew closer to Earth over the last 6 years. Talos, the leader of the Skrulls, led the first wave down to Earth to try and invade it. With the help of Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D., Captain Marvel could take down the Skrulls and send them running away, declaring they would come back to this planet. Carol started working for S.H.I.E.L.D. and was leading space missions to try and stop the Skrulls. The mid-credit scene shows Nick Fury typing up the Avengers initiative and what the requirements would be. The post-credit scene shows Captain Marvel noticing a strange form of energy drifting in the empty vastness of space as the X-Men theme softly plays in the background. The next movie would be Hulk, taking place in 2005. The military wanted to reopen the super soldier program. General Thunderbolt Ross brings on a scientist named Bruce Banner, who he thinks using gamma rays could help the program. Instead, it turned him into something unthinkable. Ross then puts an arrest order for Bruce Banner as he goes on the run. He does his best to control his anger, but still loses control. Ross ends up hiring a soldier who can handle Bruce, and Ross shoots him up with an experimental serum that turns him into an abomination. The two mighty beasts clash, and in the end, the Hulk wins. Ross sees there could be some hope for Bruce, so he lets him go. The mid-credit scene shows Bruce meeting someone who tells him he can get rid of the Hulk and return to being normal. This man's name is Samuel Stearns. The post-credit scene shows Ross is about to give up on making a super soldier serum, but he finds one more person who he thinks can make it happen. He calls a scientist named Norman Osborn to see if he would be interested in helping the government make super soldiers. This movie takes place in 2006. 15-year-old Peter Parker starts high school at Midtown High, feeling like an outsider but supported by his friends Gwen Stacy and Harry Osborn. On a field trip to Oscorp, Peter is bitten by a radioactive spider, and soon after, he notices strange changes: enhanced strength, speed, and agility. As he experiments with his new powers, he finds himself clashing with the school bully, Flash Thompson, easily dodging his attacks and realizing just how different he's become. When Peter enters a wrestling match to earn money, he selfishly lets the thief escape, only to discover later that the thief had killed his beloved Uncle Ben. Grief-stricken and fueled by guilt, Peter remembers Ben's final words: "With great power comes great responsibility." Driven by this new purpose, Peter creates a suit and web shooters, becoming Spider-Man, and trying to track down his uncle's killer. One day, he intervenes in an attack at Oscorp by a winged villain called the Vulture, revealed to be Adrian Toomes, a disgruntled ex-employee. After a destructive battle, Peter nearly kills Toomes in anger, but stops when he recalls his uncle's words, understanding their meaning at the last moment. Toomes is arrested and is sent to the raft, and though beaten pretty badly, Peter finds hope as Gwen confesses her love, and he finally embraces his role as a hero. The mid-credit scene shows Norman Osborn working on a project funded by Thunderbolt Ross to try and make the super soldier serum that was once used on Captain America to try and make a new super soldier. Norman shows his progress to Ross as we see a flight suit and glider in the background. The post-credit scene shows the man who killed Uncle Ben approaching a building, delivering the money he stole to a man working on a suit for him that would protect his body in the shape of a scorpion. Our next movie would be X-Men First Class, taking place in 2008. This would be one of the first superhero projects in the MCU that is centered around a team. Over the centuries, a mutant gene began to appear in humans, activating during puberty and granting them unique abilities or physical changes. Two powerful mutants, Charles Xavier and Eric Lensher, emerged with different ideologies. Charles wants peaceful coexistence, while Eric believes mutants are superior. Charles establishes a school for young mutants, while Eric forms the Radical Brotherhood of Mutants. Jubilee, a young mutant who can generate explosive plasma from her fingertips, runs away from home, fearing rejection, and finds her way to Xavier's school. There, she meets other mutants like Hank McCoy, Scott Summers, Jean Grey, Warren Worthington, and Bobby Drake, who help her learn to control her powers. Meanwhile, Eric makes a public declaration demanding dominance for mutants, prompting Charles to mobilize his X-Men. The team heads to confront Eric's Brotherhood, unaware that Jubilee has secretly joined them. During the battle in New York, Jubilee steps in to save a child from falling debris using her powers. Inspired, Jubilee and Jean help civilians while the X-Men defeat Eric, who is then imprisoned in a plastic cell. The X-Men return home victorious and are celebrated, with Jubilee beginning her journey as a true mutant hero. The mid-credit scene shows a man named Bolivar Trask presenting a project to launch that will help the government protect people from mutants. This is the Sentinel program. The post-credit scene shows a motorcycle rolling up to the mansion's front doors. Scott walks outside and asks, "Can I help you, sir?" The camera tilts up to see a man putting a cigar in his mouth and says, "I'm looking for someone. Does Charles Xavier live here?" Scott asks, "What do you want with the professor?" as his red ruby visor glows red. The mysterious man puffs his cigar, saying, "Easy there, bub," with three sharp metal claws emerging from his hands. Charles rolls up behind Scott, saying, "Ah, Logan, you made it." Scott, let him in. He is our guest for the evening. Our next movie would be The Fantastic Four, taking place in 2009. Reed Richards is a famous scientist looking to head to space to do some research on some cosmic rays that will be close to Earth's atmosphere. His girlfriend Sue Storm, her brother Johnny Storm, and Reed's old college roommate Ben Grimm helped him get there. They designed a ship that takes them to space, but the mission goes wrong when cosmic rays hit the ship, allowing Reed to see something or someone. They head back down to Earth and begin to develop abilities. Reed can suddenly stretch his limbs to any length, Sue turns invisible, Johnny becomes set ablaze, and Ben turns hard as stone. Reed tells them he will try to fix this and make them normal again. One day in New York, a dangerous man named Mole Man came from underground and had monsters attacking the city. Reed wants to stay and work on curing them, believing someone else will come and save the city. However, Johnny believes that they got these powers for a reason and convinces the others to go and help the city. The group takes down Mole Man and is called the Fantastic Four by the public. They became the first public superheroes. The mid-credit scene shows Reed having a vision sending fear through his whole body. A giant cosmic being known as Galactus, the devourer of worlds, is coming to Earth. The post-credit scene. A man is booking a flight to New York City to reunite with his old college partner. Not for a reunion, but for torment, as Victor Von Doom watches the news footage of the Fantastic Four saving the city for the first time. Our next movie in the MCU is X-Men Rise of the Sentinels. This movie takes place in 2010. Thunderbolt Ross approves Trask's Sentinel program to protect people from mutants, but Trask secretly programs them to kill all mutants out of hatred. 25 years later, Sentinels dominate society, hunting mutants relentlessly. A mutant named Bishop is sent back in time to 2010 to stop the Sentinels before they rise. Bishop seeks out the X-Men, who are training new recruits at the X-Mansion, while Charles Xavier tries to recruit Logan to teach at the school. Logan had come to Charles hoping to recover lost memories, which Charles uncovers through a psychic connection, revealing Logan's traumatic past. In the present, Bishop finds the X-Men and warns them about the future, convincing Charles by letting him read his mind. The X-Men split up to stop the global deployment of Sentinels, recruiting new mutants like Colossus and Nightcrawler along the way. During a battle in Egypt, however, Angel is killed, pushing the team to stop Trask in the US. At a press conference, the Sentinels activate an attack, but the X-Men defeat them, forcing Ross to end the program. Bishop returns to a changed future where Sentinels never existed, and the X-Men are remembered as heroes even if they don't remember Bishop. At this point in time in the MCU, the X-Men would actually be labeled as public heroes, just like the Fantastic Four. The mid-credit scene shows Logan is riding his motorcycle through New York as he sees the Fantastic Four fighting the Hulk. He rides closer to the battle and engages the Green Monster. The post-credit scene shows a looming shadow covers the body of the fallen X-Men Angel, mutating him into something evil by someone who has lived for hundreds of years. The Age of Apocalypse has begun. Our next movie in the MCU would be The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which would also take place in 2010. 4 years after becoming Spider-Man, Peter Parker is 19 and enjoying the summer with his friends Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy before college starts. Peter works at the Daily Bugle while Gwen and Harry work at Oscorp. During this time, Norman Osborn, Harry's father, has been developing a new super soldier serum for Thunderbolt Ross. But when he tests it on himself, it gives him super strength and a dangerous split personality. As the Green Goblin, Norman begins to wreak havoc, and Peter, along with Gwen and Harry, is drawn into the chaos. When the Green Goblin starts targeting Harry and Gwen, Peter learns of Norman's transformation and struggles to balance his identity as Spider-Man with his personal relationships. Norman's actions escalate, leading to a deadly confrontation where Peter faces a heartbreaking choice between saving Gwen or a group of children. In the end, Gwen dies in Peter's arms, and Norman, reverting to his true self, is killed by his glider during a brutal fight. At Gwen's funeral, Peter is devastated, but he's left with the guilt of not telling Harry the truth about his father's dual identity. As Harry grows to hate Spider-Man, Peter silently carries the weight of his loss. Just as he begins to grieve, news comes in that Shocker has escaped, prompting Peter to suit up once more despite the tears streaming down his face. The mid-credits scene shows Peter is now starting his first year at college, and he meets up with two other heroes that just started going there, Bobby Drake and Johnny Storm, otherwise known as Iceman and the Human Torch. The post-credits scene shows Peter and Johnny are in class when they see a bright green explosion in the distance. Johnny opens up the glass window and jumps out, yelling, "Flame on!" Peter sneaks out of the room unnoticed, goes up to the roof, and sees a massive fight between the Fantastic Four and some strange hooded man. Peter suits up and goes into battle. Our next movie in the MCU would be Iron Man. This movie would take place in 2011. Tony Stark gets attacked in Afghanistan while showing off his weapons display. He gets taken to a cave in the desert and is forced to build that same weapon. Instead, he makes his first armored suit and escapes. When he gets back home, he begins making upgrades. Stark eventually learns who hired the hit on him, his old business partner Obadiah Stane. He finds Tony's first suit, upgrades it, and then tries to kill Tony. Tony fights off Obadiah and kills him. Stark then announces himself to the world that he is Iron Man. The mid-credit scene shows Nick Fury finding Tony Stark and tries to recruit him for the Avengers Initiative, but Tony Stark turns it down at first because he doesn't want to join. The post-credit scene shows Tony planning to build a New York building to work on specific projects there. While scouting out an area in New York, a large explosion is heard in the distance. Tony looks up to see a rock-like man being thrown through the air. The thing comes crashing down as Tony suits up. Ben Grimm stands up, looks at Iron Man, and asks for his help. The next movie would be Fantastic Four: Age of Doom. This movie takes place in 2011. For the past 2 years, the Fantastic Four had been New York's primary heroes, saving the city time and time again, but their peace was shattered when reports flooded in about a massive green monster rampaging through Central Park. Upon arriving, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, and the Thing found themselves face to face with the Hulk, whose raw power was too much for them to handle. Just when all hope seemed lost, a motorcycle roared in and Wolverine leapt into action, his claws flashing as he joined the battle against the Green Behemoth. The mutant and Gamma monster clashed in an epic showdown, with the Hulk eventually subdued and transformed back into Bruce Banner, thanks to the combined efforts of the Fantastic Four and Wolverine. Back at the Baxter Building, Bruce explained that he had been minding his business when a man in a green cloak bumped into him, and the next thing he knew, he was overcome with rage, transforming into the Hulk. Reed, being perplexed, theorized that only someone with vast power could trigger such a reaction, and he quickly suspected one individual, Victor Von Doom. A flashback is shown of Reed's college days where a dangerous experiment gone wrong left Victor scarred and eventually led to him disappearing to Latveria. As Reed used his advanced tech to trace energy signals, the group ventured over to Queens, where Bruce saw the mysterious man once again. Victor, now clad in a metal mask and full of vengeance. In a violent confrontation, Victor lashed out, sending Ben flying with an energy blast, landing in front of Tony Stark, who quickly suited up and joined the fray. The Fantastic Four, along with Wolverine and Iron Man, battled Dr. Doom across the city, with Doom revealing his twisted motives. He sought revenge for his scars, his humiliation, and the love he believed Reed had stolen from him. As Doom unleashed a devastating blast, Johnny Storm and Spider-Man arrived just in time to join the fight, making their way to Times Square to battle the villain together. Realizing he was outnumbered, Dr. Doom retreated as the heroes regrouped back at the Baxter Building. With tensions rising and egos clashing, the group worked together to track down Doom, who had managed to infiltrate the Baxter Building and spring a surprise attack. As Bruce transformed into the Hulk once again, an epic battle ensued, but the combined efforts of the team brought Doom down, saving the city. Nick Fury arrived to recruit the heroes, extending an invitation to Tony, Bruce, and Spider-Man to join the Avengers, though Peter declined. Meanwhile, Doom was arrested, only to escape custody, plotting his next move to take over the US with an army of Doombots. The mid-credit scene shows Nick Fury looking through a folder. The folder is titled Possible Avengers Candidates. The two main heroes in the file are Ant-Man and the Wasp. In the post-credit scene, we have a wide shot of the desert as something comes crashing down to the ground. The camera moves towards it, and we see a strange-looking hammer as clouds come rolling in and we hear thunder in the distance. Our final movie to wrap up the Legacy Saga is Thor, which would take place in 2012. Thor is about to become king of Asgard, but he does something reckless and gets banished to Earth. His father sleeps deeply while his adopted brother Loki takes the throne. While on Earth, Thor learns what it's like to be mortal and what it means to be worthy. His brother tries to make it seem like their father has died because of Thor. Thor believes this and remains exiled. Eventually, Thor learns the truth as Loki sends the Destroyer to Earth to kill Thor. But Thor risks his life to save Jane Foster, a woman he fell in love with, and becomes worthy again. He takes down the Destroyer and returns to Asgard. Two brothers fight on a rainbow bridge. Thor ends up destroying the bridge to save the Nine Realms. Unfortunately, Loki falls into a wormhole created by the Bifrost and is appeared to be dead. The mid-credits scene shows Loki falling through a portal that eventually leads him to an unknown world where he meets someone who is sitting in a large floating chair. His henchman approaches him and asks if he would like a second chance. Loki has a confused look on his face as he is handed a scepter which holds a blue gem inside and can lead the Chitauri army. The post-credits scene shows Thor arriving on Earth from the help of his father Odin. When he lands, he hears the sound of a car rolling up behind him. The car door opens with Nick Fury getting out, asking him why the God of Thunder has come back to Earth. Thor responds with, "I have come to warn you about a dangerous being coming to Earth." Nick Fury is surprised and asks Thor to follow him as he wants to introduce him to some friends. The first project in Phase 2 will be Avengers, taking place in 2012. Loki receives the scepter and begins his invasion of Earth by opening a portal through the Tesseract. Nick Fury arrives at a shield facility that houses the Tesseract, a powerful cosmic cube once used by Hydra during World War II. The Tesseract activates, allowing Loki to appear, steal it, and destroy the facility. Fury contacts Agent Coulson to begin assembling the Avengers. Steve Rogers, recently unfrozen, is approached by Fury, who asks for help and sends him to Stark Tower. At Stark Tower, Steve meets Bruce Banner, Tony Stark, and Hank Pym, who are working on tracking down the Tesseract. Janet Van Dyne joins the group. Fury arrives with Thor, forming the core of the new team. Hank and Janet reveal their superhero identities as Ant-Man and the Wasp, demonstrating their shrinking abilities. The team splits up, with Bruce, Tony, and Hank staying to analyze energy signals, while Thor, Steve, and Janet search the streets. The ground team locates and captures Loki, returning with the scepter to Stark Tower. Tensions rise as the scepter manipulates the group, causing Bruce to transform into the Hulk. Hulk escapes while Thor and Iron Man pursue him, while Loki regains his scepter and opens a portal for the Chitauri army. Steve rallies the team together and the Avengers unite to battle the alien threat in New York City. Thor fights Loki while Hank and Janet manage to close the portal using the scepter. Loki is defeated and is taken back to Asgard, with the Tesseract and the Avengers part ways, ready to reunite if the Earth ever needs them again. The mid-credit scene shows S.H.I.E.L.D. has taken the scepter and are now using it to experiment on people. They end up keeping this secret from Fury. The post-credit scene shows a large floating chair in the emptiness of space as a henchman is giving a briefing of what happened on Earth. A large man sits up from the chair as he turns around. A purple man in golden armor gets down from his chair, revealing himself to be the Mad Titan Thanos, and is about to begin his quest for the Infinity Stones. Our next movie would be Thor: The Dark World, taking place in 2012, right after the events of the Avengers. After the Battle of New York, Thor took Loki to Asgard and was imprisoned by Odin. The Nine Realms had fallen into chaos after the Bifrost was destroyed. Thor had been helping them rein in turmoil, and in one of those Nine Realms, a being Odin once battled had now come back to take his revenge. Surtur, the king of fire giants, was going to destroy Asgard and then make his way to Earth to start his destruction of the universe. To help him achieve his goal on a more grander scale, Surtur goes looking for an item of cosmic power called the Ether. Thor eventually gets help from Loki, and the brotherly duo tries to work together to stop Surtur. On Surtur's home world, he is about to open up the Ether and unleash the power of the Reality Stone. But Loki does his best to stop that from happening. Thor stops Surtur from destroying the universe, but Loki fakes another death, allowing him to escape into space. The mid-credit scene shows Thor telling Odin he is heading back to Earth to spend time with Jane Foster because he didn't want to take the mantle of king after Loki died. After Thor leaves the room, Odin turns into Loki as he sits on the throne of Asgard. The post-credit scene shows S.H.I.E.L.D. is using the scepter to try and improve the intelligence of a man named George Tarleton at his company known as AIM. The procedure worked, but not in the way that he thought it would go. His head became large, improving his intelligence while giving him technological abilities, but in order to keep him alive, they had to make him a chair-like suit to keep him in. When he woke up, he thanked the man who had used the scepter on him and said, "Now it's time to kill Tony Stark." Our next movie in the MCU would be Iron Man 2. This movie would take place in 2013. In 1999, Tony Stark meets George Tarleton at a robotics conference in Berlin, Switzerland, where George pitched his ambitious idea of a company called Advanced Idea Mechanics, otherwise known as AIM. Tony promised to meet him on the roof to discuss it, but instead spent the night with a fellow scientist, ringing in the new year. Years later, after the alien attack on New York, Tony became consumed with anxiety about future threats while growing closer to his assistant Pepper Potts. One day, as Tony worked on a new suit, his lab shut down, flickered on an eerie purple, and displayed a cryptic message: "A man from your past is coming." Tony's AI, Jarvis, identified the man as George Tarleton, who had once tried to convince Tony to help launch AIM, a company now rising from the shadows. Tony learned that his old friend Rhodey had been investigating George as well, revealing that he had met with someone from S.H.I.E.L.D. for an experiment. As they dug deeper, Tony suggested Rhodey wear the War Machine armor for this mission ahead. The two friends discovered that George had undergone brutal experiments enhancing his mind with the power of the Space Scepter, transforming him into the villain known as MODOK. MODOK's goal was to destroy Tony's legacy by taking control of his suits, but Tony and Rhodey stopped him, imprisoning him in a high-secure facility designed to nullify his abilities. Back at home, Tony stared at his armor, reflecting on his past mistakes, and vowed to make things right, starting with finding a cure for the man he once knew. The mid-credit scene shows Tony's working on upgrading his suits, and he remembers something about his past. He looks into the group of people who kidnapped him 2 years ago, and he finds a symbol that takes Tony down a rabbit hole where he learns about a group called the Ten Rings. A post-credit scene shows a man is walking with a cane down the streets of Hell's Kitchen at night. He hears some kind of crime happening a few blocks away. We see him walk down a dark alley and suddenly runs and jumps as if he wasn't blind. He puts on a black mask that covers his eyes since he doesn't need to see to fight, as the devil of Hell's Kitchen has arrived. So after hearing about what the post-credit scene for Iron Man 2 would be, you're kind of figuring out what the next project is going to be. Any project going forward in these videos that have a red mark in it is going to be a TV show. Anything that has a blue mark in it is a movie. This would be the first season of Daredevil Season 1, taking place in 2013. We see the busy streets of Hell's Kitchen where an elderly man is walking into the street. A large truck carrying chemicals is about to hit the man, while a young boy jumps in the way to save him. The boy's name is Matt Murdock. The truck swerves, releasing some of the chemicals on the street and some getting into Matt's eyes. Matt's father rushes in to help his son as Matthew slowly begins to lose his sight. With the city trying to rebuild itself after the events of Avengers, an evil crime organization has been operating in the shadows of New York. Multiple crime lords all working for one man, Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin. These crime lords have been taking pieces from the Chitauri army and selling them on the black market, while also committing human trafficking and drug dealing. In the first season, we learn about Matthew's history of being a lawyer with his friend Foggy Nelson, who are both new to being lawyers, as they take on a case about a woman who had killed a co-worker, when in reality it was Kingpin trying to clean up some loose ends to make sure this woman didn't let out any secrets about his plans. This woman's name is Karen Page. Even though he is blind, he can still see with his other senses. He wears a black outfit with a mask that covers his eyes, nose, and ears. By the end of the season, he wears a red suit with devil horns and takes down Kingpin, sending him to jail. But just because someone is in jail doesn't mean they will stay there. The mid-credit scene shows Daredevil is jumping over rooftops. As he suddenly stops, he hears gunshots in the distance. He rushes over to stop the shooting as we see a man with a gun shooting up a building wearing a skull on his chest. The post-credit scene shows Peter Parker doing his normal thing at the Daily Bugle, trying to submit more pictures of Spider-Man. J. Jonah Jameson tells Peter that this is a real hero, as he shows him the work that Daredevil did putting away Kingpin. Peter just agrees, then hears about some guy attacking the city in a rhino costume. Peter leaves the building ready for some action. Our next movie would be The Amazing Spider-Man 3. This movie also takes place in 2013. At 22 years old, Peter Parker was struggling to balance his normal college life with his responsibilities as Spider-Man, all while coping with the ghosts of his past, especially the loss of Gwen and Norman Osborn. His friendship with Harry had faded over the years, and though he had met a new redhead named Mary Jane, Peter couldn't bring himself to pursue her, feeling as though it would betray Gwen's memory. One day, while working at the Daily Bugle, Peter hears about the destruction caused by the Rhino and suits up to stop him, battling the hulking Russian villain before sending him to the raft. Later, Harry calls Peter to meet up and reveal that he plans to leave New York, offering Peter control of Oscorp, a gesture Peter refuses. However, Harry introduces him to Otto Octavius, a scientist Peter once admired back when he was in high school, and the two form a bond over their shared love of science. As they begin working together on a prosthetic project to help amputees, Peter starts noticing Otto's health declining, which Otto tells Peter about past chemical exposures that damaged his nerves. During one of their sessions, Peter leaves to stop a robbery by a man in a scorpion suit who also ends up at the raft. When Peter returns, he finds Otto wearing 4 robotic arms and warns him that they are controlling him, but Otto refuses to listen. After a fierce battle with his former idol, Peter learns that Otto was only using Oscorp's resources to build a device that would tarnish the Osborn's legacy, all while secretly manipulating villains like Scorpion and Rhino. After a brutal fight, Peter finally subdues Otto, sending him to the raft, and heads home exhausted and beaten. In the hallway of his apartment, he encounters MJ, who silently comforts him, holding him as he grapples with the weight of all he has lost. At that moment, Peter decides he can no longer continue as Spider-Man and chooses to focus on living as Peter Parker instead. The mid-credit scene shows Peter and MJ are out on their first date. While on this date, we see cop cars zoom past them, but Peter keeps walking with MJ as we pan down to see his hand clenching in a fist, indicating that he isn't done being Spider-Man. The post-credit scene shows Captain America is training with some new friends he has met while working with S.H.I.E.L.D., Natasha Romanoff and Clint Barton. They show him some new moves in combat as they begin to get ready to go out on a mission to rescue people on a S.H.I.E.L.D. ship that had been hijacked. Our next movie would be Captain America: The Winter Soldier. This movie would take place in 2014. Over the last 2 years, Steve Rogers has been getting back into action, helping S.H.I.E.L.D. with stealth missions alongside Natasha Romanoff and Clint Barton. Cap learns from Fury that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been compromised and that Hydra has been secretly infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D. for the last 50 years. Steve teams up with a man named Sam Wilson, who was in the military under the alias Falcon, along with Natasha and Clint. Steve learns about a man named the Winter Soldier, Hydra's main assassin, and has been for the last 50 years. Hydra's main plan is to launch 3 helicarriers into the air using an algorithm designed by Arnim Zola, who has actually had his consciousness uploaded into a large supercomputer. Captain America and the Winter Soldier meet face to face, and Steve learns that it is his old friend, Bucky Barnes, who he thought was dead, but had been brainwashed. Steve takes down S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra, or whatever you want to call it. He shuts it all down, but he also has to fight his best friend, Bucky, and he starts to get through to him after Bucky saved him from almost drowning in a river. Steve eventually helps Fury try to rebuild S.H.I.E.L.D. from the ground up, and in the process, he learns about an alloy that could rival his shield, known as adamantium. The mid-credit scene shows Steve and Sam looking for information about where Bucky ran off to, but their search comes up empty. Along the way, they learn about another organization called the Ten Rings, and remember that Tony had been trying to learn about this group. Steve tries to call Tony to warn him about the leader of the Ten Rings, but it's too late. As he looks at a nearby TV, he sees something about Tony Stark's house being under attack. The post-credits scene shows Fury is trying to get S.H.I.E.L.D. back up and running, and while he is going through some old Hydra files, he learns about the Red Room and can see that an assassin was going to be sent out after Natasha to kill her. The assassin was Taskmaster. Our next movie in the MCU would be Iron Man 3. This movie would also take place in 2014. After the Battle of New York, Tony Stark became obsessed with perfecting his Iron Man suits. Not only for himself, but also for his best friend Rhodey, he secretly began working on a suit for Pepper, hoping to protect her, even though she resented how much time Tony spent in his workshop. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Wenwu, leader of the Ten Rings, was conducting research into the mysterious prisoner who had escaped Afghanistan. Having lived for over 1,000 years, had seen the world fall under his control using the power of the Ten Rings, and now he had set his sights on Iron Man. Intent on proving that not even an Avenger could stop him, he came to the United States with a sinister plan to steal Tony's suits and take over the country. His first move was to capture Rhodey, holding him prisoner and taking his War Machine suit. Wenwu then left Rhodey's helmet on Tony's doorstep as a message. Enraged, Tony suited up in his latest Mark 42 suit. Even with all his advancements, Wenwu easily overpowered him and kidnapped Pepper. When Tony regained consciousness in the hospital, Nick Fury and Happy Hogan were by his side, trying to snap him out of his fog. Tony barely processes Fury's words until Happy informed him that Pepper had been taken. With newfound focus, Tony vowed to rescue her and demanded Fury look for Rhodey. Tony tracked Wenwu to a hidden mountain facility in China, where Wenwu awaited him with Pepper at his side. The two clashed again, but Wenwu's words cut deeper this time. The universe will be destroyed by a being from the stars. Machines will rise up against mankind. Mutants will become your enemy. Tony, however, refused to hand over his suit and charged in to rescue Pepper. Just as Wenwu was about to kill Tony, Tony stunned him by mentioning his long-lost son. Wenwu froze, shocked that Tony knew about his son's disappearance. In a tense moment, Tony promised to find his son if Wenwu let Pepper go. After a brief pause, Wenwu agreed and the two came to an understanding. Tony would search for Wenwu's son, and in return, Wenwu wouldn't attempt to conquer the United States. At least not yet. Wenwu then led Tony to a prison where Rhodey was being held captive. I never planned to kill him, Wenwu said, releasing Rhodey. As Rhodey punched Wenwu in the face in retaliation, Wenwu simply smiled, letting him go. With Pepper safe and Rhodey freed, Tony returned home, determined to find Shang-Chi, the son of Wenwu. The mid-credit scene shows Tony remembers what Wenwu said about future threats and how one day they will need someone to help protect them. He starts working on a project that we see on the computer to be called the Ultron Protocol. In the post-credit scene, we see the emptiness of space as a speedy comet moving faster than light. As it slows down at a nearby planet, we see a man on a surfboard completely covered in silver. Our next movie is The Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. This movie would take place in 2015. The Fantastic Four had begun living separate lives. Reed and Sue were expecting their first child, Ben had fallen in love with a blind woman, and Johnny was enjoying his freedom after college. One evening, while they were having dinner together at the Baxter Building, Reed received an alert about a strange cosmic disturbance. Suddenly, a silver-skinned man on a surfboard appeared, warning them that Earth had been marked for destruction by Galactus, the World Eater. As the Silver Surfer flew away, Johnny flamed on and chased him into the sky, only to be knocked back down to Earth. Troubled by the name Galactus, Reed recalled a vision from when they first got their powers and began building a machine to intercept the threat in space. Over the next few days, the Silver Surfer returned and began interacting with the team, especially Sue, who saw goodness in him. Moved by Sue's compassion, the Surfer turned against Galactus and revealed how they might stop him. But it was too late. Galactus had arrived in New York, forcing the heroes into battle as Sue suddenly went into labor. Reed rushed her to the hospital while Ben helped evacuate civilians. Just as Galactus was about to crush a child, a giant Ant-Man emerged holding him back. Johnny returned from space wielding a device called the Ultimate Nullifier, a weapon powerful enough to make Galactus retreat. With the Surfer's help, Galactus was driven off and the team reunited at the hospital just in time for the birth of Franklin Richards. The mid-credit scene shows Galactus and the Silver Surfer traveling through space as they see a large ship passing by them. Inside the ship, we see a blue man with a large hammer and two women standing behind him, Gamora and Nebula. The post-credit scene shows a masked man trying to enter a strange abandoned ruin that holds a strange-looking orb. This is the legendary Star-Lord. Our next movie in the MCU would be Guardians of the Galaxy, which would be taking place in 2015. Out in the vast emptiness of space, the Mad Titan Thanos is about to start looking for the Infinity Stones. He sends his adoptive daughters, Nebula and Gamora, with Ronan to retrieve an artifact called the Orb. However, a man named Peter Quill had already taken it. The man he was going to sell it to wouldn't take it. Gamora finds Peter on Xandar trying to take the orb. Peter gets arrested on Xandar with Gamora and meets Rocket, Groot, and Drax. The five form an alliance and escape prison. Gamora tries to convince the group to sell the orb to a man called the Collector, who would pay a larger price for it. Gamora goes on to tell the group that she wants to stop Thanos before it's too late. They all head to Nowhere, which is the skull of a dead Celestial that is the home of the Collector. In there, we learn about the Infinity Stones and their purpose. Inside the orb is the purple gem, which is the Power Stone. Ronan shows up on Nowhere and takes the Power Stone with the help from Nebula. Ronan decides to rebel against Thanos by putting the stone into his hammer and claims he will go after Thanos after he destroys Xandar. Ronan takes the Power Stone to Xandar, but the Guardians follow him and try to get the stone away from him. They destroy his hammer, allowing the Guardians to get the Power Stone and use it against Ronan, killing him in the process. They hand the Power Stone over to the Nova Corps and leave Xandar. The mid-credit scene shows Thanos learns about what happened on Xandar and decides to stop letting other people do his job for him. He puts on some kind of golden gauntlet and tells the Black Order to prepare his army. The post-credit scene shows Bruce Banner going on a rampage as the Hulk as the government is going after him. As we zoom out, we see all this is happening on a screen as a man with a large head is looming in the darkness watching this television broadcast. And the final movie of this Phase 2 in the MCU would be The Hulk 2, taking place in 2015. Bruce Banner has been working on trying to find a cure to get rid of the Hulk. He has only thought of him as a sickness and someone to get rid of. He tries everything he can, but in the end, he finds nothing. He meets another scientist named Samuel Stearns that also has been doing research on gamma rays and is the second leading researcher on the subject. The science bros meet up together and try to start working on making a cure to get rid of the Hulk. During the process, Bruce transforms, causing Samuel to get injured with some of Bruce's blood going into a cut on his head. His head begins to pulsate and grows larger as he slowly turns green. Weeks later, in isolation, Bruce Banner returns to the remnants of Clover University in search of Samuel Stearns, who is now disfigured and brilliant beyond comprehension. Agrees to help him, but secretly harbors a vendetta and a new identity: the Leader. During their experiments, Stearns implants a neural trigger in Bruce's subconscious, using subtle mind control to provoke random Hulk transformations. The world soon sees a green menace striking without warning, and Bruce is hunted down once again, unsure if it's his rage or something deeper controlling him. Realizing the truth, Bruce confronts Stearns, who reveals his plan to manipulate the Hulk as a weapon of chaos to reshape the world in his image. With chaos mounting and his transformations worsening, Bruce retreats deep into the wilderness to meditate and regain control. Through grueling isolations, he learns to quiet his mind and tune out the chaos of the world, mastering his triggers. In the final confrontation, Bruce resists the Leader's mental manipulations and transforms only by choice. Calm, focused, and in full control. As the Leader is defeated and imprisoned, Bruce walks away, no longer at war with the Hulk, but at peace with the new balance they now share. The mid-credit scene shows Bruce is in Mexico working on trying to control his transformation, but it seems he is having trouble with it again. He theorized that he needed some stakes to have him control the Hulk transformation. He gets a visit from Tony Stark asking him for some help on a certain project that will help humanity. The post-credit scene shows Natasha Romanoff in Budapest as she invades an apartment where she meets another woman who looks younger than her as she holds a gun to her face. As Natasha says, "Long time no see, sis." The first project in Phase 3 is Black Widow, taking place in 2016. Natasha Romanoff is given a mission that takes her back to Budapest, a place where Clint Barton helped Natasha kill the leader of the Red Room, Dreykov. While there, she reunites with her younger sister Yelena, who tells her that Dreykov is still alive and that he has sent his strongest warrior after them, Taskmaster. Taskmaster is an elite assassin that can copy any fighting style just by looking at it. The Red Room had provided him with footage of characters such as Spider-Man, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, Daredevil, and Black Widow herself to copy their fighting styles. The Black Widow sisters find their adoptive parents, the Red Guardian and Melina, to learn more about the location of the Red Room. The four of them invade the Red Room and find Dreykov together. However, Taskmaster falls from the ceiling and Dreykov escapes. The four try to fight off Taskmaster and go after Dreykov. The group splits up to multitask. The Red Guardian and Melina catch up to Dreykov and capture him, while Natasha and Yelena take down Taskmaster. S.H.I.E.L.D. eventually arrives to lock them up. The Russian family goes their separate ways as Nick Fury welcomes Natasha to the Avengers. The mid-credits scene shows Taskmaster escaping and is on the run from S.H.I.E.L.D. He meets up with someone that gives him money for completing his mission for bringing the family back together. A woman named Valentina steps out and gives him his next mission, which is to go after Spider-Man. The post-credits scene shows Natasha arriving at the Avengers Tower as Clint welcomes her, as we see the other members of the Avengers talking about the Ultron Protocol being created. The next project would be Avengers Age of Ultron, also taking place in 2016. Tony Stark summoned the Avengers to the tower with an idea: create a robot to protect humanity so they could finally go home. Bruce Banner was uneasy about giving an AI such power, but Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne were intrigued and offered their help. Pressured, Bruce joined the project, and together they created the Ultron program. Just as progress was being made, an alert revealed that Hydra was using Loki's scepter to experiment on humans. The Avengers regrouped and recovered the scepter, learning it contained a powerful, intelligent blue gem. Tony, eager to understand it, began testing the gem, hoping to integrate it into Ultron. But the experiment failed until the tower went dark and Ultron appeared, corrupted and menacing. Ultron fled with the scepter and began building an army recruiting Hydra's test subjects, Wanda and Peter Maximoff, a mutant twin duo. The twins initially opposed the Avengers, but after meeting Steve Rogers, they revealed they wanted to help stop Hydra too. Ultron, meanwhile, used stolen vibranium and the gem to forge a new body intended to evolve. Wanda sensed Ultron's mind and, horrified, helped Peter steal the body before it was activated. The Avengers returned the body to the tower where Tony, Bruce, Hank, and Janet merged Jarvis with it. With Thor's lightning, the being came to life, calm, powerful, and calling himself Vision. Ultron launched an all-out attack on Avengers Tower with his robot army. Vision confronted Ultron, warning that he stood for life, not destruction. Ultron commanded his army to kill the Avengers, but Vision linked to him digitally and burned him out of the internet. As chaos erupted, the Avengers fought to protect civilians while Peter realized he enjoyed being a hero. The final battle ended with Hulk smashing Ultron as Vision, Thor, and Iron Man delivered the killing blow. With Ultron gone, the public cheered, but fled at the sight of the Hulk, causing him to leap away in sorrow. The mutant twins left the team, promising to return if needed. While Thor returned to Asgard in search of the Infinity Stones, Tony began plans for a new Avengers base upstate after the tower was destroyed, and Steve Rogers started training the next generation of heroes. The mid-credit scene shows Hulk leaping over the rubble of Avengers Tower and finding a Quinjet. He transforms back to Bruce to fit inside and flies the jet off into space. The post-credit scene shows Thor arriving at a place called Nowhere to meet the Collector to learn about the Infinity Stones. The Collector tells Thor that he is collecting the stones for someone, but he can't say who, as we see the Reality Stone is already in his collection. Our next movie is Black Panther, also taking place in 2016. The King of Wakanda, T'Chaka, has passed on his mantle of Black Panther to his oldest child, T'Challa. T'Challa would go out on missions and help protect Wakanda. One day, a man named Eric Killmonger, who claimed to be the son of T'Chaka's dead brother, arrived in Wakanda and wanted to take vibranium weapons back to the USA to help African Americans around the country to defend themselves. King T'Chaka could not accept this, with Eric taking control of the situation by killing King T'Chaka. T'Challa is upset at this and tries to kill Eric out of rage, but gets beaten down due to tunnel vision. T'Challa has to retreat and come up with a new strategy to stop his cousin. Eric takes control of Wakanda and drinks from the heart-shaped herb and gains the powers of the Black Panther. He takes a golden black suit from Shuri's lab and begins to send out Wakandan weapons to the rest of the world. T'Challa returns to reclaim his throne and ends up battling Eric to the death. T'Challa listens to his cousin's words about how his people are treated around the rest of the world and that he wants to be his own king and be different from his father and past kings. He opened up Wakandan centers starting in the US. The mid-credit scene shows T'Challa is in America checking out the new Avengers compound to see if the Avengers could use any help from Wakanda after the battle with Ultron. The post-credit scene shows sand swirling in the desert of Egypt as a pyramid rises from the ground as the mutant called Apocalypse walks through his new domain and sits on a throne. Our next project is Daredevil Season 2, taking place in 2017. In Daredevil Season 2, after Kingpin had been taken to prison, Matt Murdock has another encounter with the vigilante known as the Punisher, who has been killing people from the shadows over the last 4 years. Matt is eventually able to stop Punisher and talk to him on why he kills. Frank Castle believes that he is doing the right thing by getting rid of people who have done bad things in the world. During this time, a woman from Matt's past shows up asking him to help her stop an evil organization known as the Hand. This woman's name is Elektra. Matt agrees to help Elektra stop the Hand if she helps him take down the Punisher to show him that his ways are wrong. They stop the Punisher and he ends up in the same prison as Kingpin. Matt holds up his end of the deal by going to help Elektra stop the Hand. Kingpin tries to have Frank Castle killed while in prison, but Frank kills everyone that is sent after him, then escaping himself. While fighting on a rooftop, Elektra is killed by the Hand, and Punisher shows up shooting some of the Hand ninjas as Daredevil fights his way through the rest of them as they retreat. Daredevil and Punisher come to an understanding and go their separate ways. Matt tells his friends Foggy and Karen that he is Daredevil and tells them that he wants to put that life behind him and asks for help from his friends. The mid-credit scene shows Kingpin is able to manipulate the guards in prison to let him go, as he gets ready to come back to his empire and be with the woman he loves, Vanessa. The post-credit scene shows a new law is about to be put in place that will affect the vast majority of the population, a law that will affect all mutants. Our next movie is X-Men Apocalypse, taking place in 2017. The Earth's deserts have become the domain of Apocalypse, an ancient mutant believed to be the first of his kind. After centuries of sleep, he awakens and begins assembling his 4 horsemen, reviving Angel as the deadly Archangel. Charles Xavier awakens from a terrifying dream and rushes to Cerebro to confirm his fears. Apocalypse has returned. He locates the ancient mutant in a massive pyramid surrounded by new followers and hears him whisper,
"I'm coming for you."
Charles quickly gathers the X-Men and flies out to stop him before he finds his remaining horsemen. Meanwhile, a new mutant named Rogue has joined the X-Men, and in Louisiana, Archangel recruits Gambit to Apocalypse's side. Rogue believes she can save Gambit and splits from the team to follow him. They trail him to Egypt, where Apocalypse recruits Storm and escapes with her through a portal. As the X-Men reel, Wolverine questions Cyclops' leadership and tensions build within the team. Rogue alerts them that Apocalypse's horsemen are heading to break Magneto out of prison. The X-Men arrive too late once again. Apocalypse takes Magneto and kills Professor X in a brutal psychic battle. Back at the pyramid, Magneto breaks free from control and joins the X-Men in one final stand. The battle claims the life of Archangel once again. Rogue helps free Gambit and Storm. Fueled by rage, Apocalypse makes critical mistakes, allowing the X-Men to defeat and kill him. The survivors return to the X-Mansion to mourn Charles, and with Eric departing, Cyclops steps up as the school's new leader. In the final scene, Cyclops trains the new X-Men and proudly declares, "To me, my X-Men." The mid-credit scene shows a woman in a yellow outfit fighting a group of people with what looks like magic, opening sling ring portals and escaping the fight. The post-credit scene shows a CIA vehicle arrives at the doors of the X-Mansion with a man in a suit holding a folder, walks up to the doors to tell the X-Men that they are to meet in New York to discuss the laws about mutant kind wanting to be passed. Our next movie is Doctor Strange, also taking place in 2017. 2017 is kind of a big year in this new MCU of mine. A man named Stephen Strange, a renowned neurosurgeon, works at a hospital in New York. One night, as he is driving to an award ceremony, he gets into an accident that takes away his ability to use his hands. Desperate to get his old life back, he learns about a man who was able to walk again after his spine was broken. He learns that this man uses magic to help him walk, and if he wanted to learn, he would need to go to a place called Kamertage. Making his way to Carmitage, he meets the Ancient One, who shows him that they teach sorcerers and tells him that she won't train him. He waits outside the entrance of Carmitage for hours, eventually being allowed access. A man named Mordo begins teaching Stephen the ways of the mystic arts, along with Wong giving him access to the books about sorcerers. Stephen begins to develop his powers more and more, and in the process, gets the attention of a being of dark power, Dormammu, the ruler of the dark dimension. Stephen tries practicing with a relic called the Eye of Agamotto that holds a green gem inside, known as the Time Stone, one of the 6 Infinity Stones. The Ancient One is upset at Stephen for using this relic, but is surprised he even could. They believe he could be the next Sorcerer Supreme. Dormammu starts attacking the New York Sanctum and has killed the protectors inside. Wong, Stephen, and Mordo make a portal to the Sanctum and fight Dormammu. While fighting, Stephen gets a relic that chooses him, the Cloak of Levitation. The Ancient One joins in the fight, and she admits to drawing power from the Dark Dimension to give her immortality. Mordo begins to question his role as a sorcerer. The Ancient One apologizes to Mordo and sacrifices herself to try and stop Dormammu. Unfortunately, it did nothing to the Dark Ruler, allowing him to learn about the location of Carmitage. When they arrive at Carmitage, it is in ruins, so Doctor Strange uses the Time Stone to rewind time so that Dormammu never came to Carmitage. But he knows he will keep coming back, so he travels into the Dark Dimension to make a deal with Dormammu. A fight breaks out with Doctor Strange dying, but then suddenly reappearing. He casted a spell that would put both Stephen and Dormammu in a time loop forever unless he leaves the Earth alone. Dormammu agrees to leave the Earth alone. Mordo is upset at Stephen for using the Time Stone to reverse time. In that moment, he leaves Carmitage and goes after the sorcerers for their magic, creating a new threat by accident. The mid-credit scene shows Doctor Strange is now guarding the New York Sanctum and gets a visit from Thor, who is looking for his father Odin. The post-credit scene shows Mordo is making a deal with the devil to help him take out all sorcerers. Mephisto agrees to help this mortal, and they begin working together. Our next movie is Deadpool, taking place in 2018. Wade Wilson, a man who is slowly dying of cancer, gets the chance to become cured, but doesn't believe he can be. One night, he leaves his girlfriend and takes the chance to become cured. He meets a man called Ajax and learns that the way to cure people is by torturing them, hoping that those who have the mutant gene will activate and heal them. After around-the-clock torture, Wade mutates into something unthinkable. His skin looks as if it is rotting and breaks out of his cell. Ajax fights with Wade, burning down the factory, waking up the next morning learning that he can't die, and is now a fourth-wall-breaking mutant. He devotes his life to finding Ajax so that he can fix him. After a funny and murderous fight on a highway, he finds Ajax but is interrupted by Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, who were trying to stop Deadpool from killing. This allowed Ajax to escape, with Colossus knocking Deadpool out. He wakes up at the X-Mansion where he is greeted by Scott, Logan, Rogue, and Colossus. They tell him he has a gift that shouldn't be wasted on being a killer. Wade doesn't want to be an X-Men or a hero, he just wants to get his old life back. Scott tells Wade to look past revenge and look for forgiveness, as Wade punches him in the balls, escaping the mansion. Colossus goes after him, but Scott tells him to let him go, as Logan and Rogue just laugh in the background. You know, as I'm reading this out for the video, I'm trying not to laugh because it's actually kind of funny. Ajax eventually learns about Wade's girlfriend Vanessa and kidnaps her as his prisoner, to use as bait for Wade. Wade learns that Vanessa has been taken and goes after him. Eventually, Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead catch up to Deadpool and offer their help. Wade gives in and they team up. Deadpool, a mutant who can't die, fights off against Ajax, a mutant that can't feel pain. They fight it out in an old abandoned factory as Deadpool pins him down and tells him to fix his face. Ajax laughs as he tells Wade that he can't be fixed. Deadpool is about to kill him, but Colossus tries to stop him, saying that being a hero sometimes means sparing an enemy. Deadpool kills him anyway and reunites with Vanessa, who is angry at Wade for leaving. They make up in the end, and he thanks Colossus for his help and say that he will consider joining the X-Men. The mid-credits scene shows a Russian laboratory that holds a cryo chamber with an Omega symbol on it, showing a red and silver mutant inside. The post-credits scene shows the Guardians of the Galaxy flying through space as they see what looks like a comet flying to their ship. It slows down just enough for a figure to appear. They open up the ship doors as a man wearing a bucket helmet and a Xandar outfit floats in, saying that he is Nova and he has to warn Star-Lord about his father. Our next movie is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, taking place in 2018. The Guardians are hired by the Sovereign to defeat a creature eating their batteries, but ended up being hunted after Rocket stole some. During the chase, a mysterious man named Nova destroyed the Sovereign's fleet and introduced himself as a member of the Nova Corps. He told Peter Quill that he knew who his father was and that he had to be stopped. Confused and intrigued, the Guardians stopped on a nearby planet where a man claiming to be Peter's father, Ego, appeared. Ego, a living planet in human form, invited the Guardians to his world, saying that he wanted to make amends with Peter. As Peter bonded with Ego and discovered his own celestial powers, the others began to feel something was off. Meanwhile, Nebula arrived on the planet seeking revenge on Gamora, but after a brutal fight, they reconciled. Nova confronted Mantis, who finally revealed that Ego planned to use Peter as an energy source to spread himself across the galaxy. The Guardians stormed Ego's palace and rescued Peter, who realized Ego had killed his mother. They journeyed to the planet's core, and with Rocket's plan and Nova's help, they destroyed Ego's brain, killing him. Peter mourned the father he never really had, but knew he did the right thing. Nova returned to Xandar, Nebula left to hunt Thanos, and the Guardians flew off, closer than ever. The mid-credit scene shows Nova returning to Xandar in ruins. He grows angry as he makes contact with someone he can barely see through the smoke. As it clears, he sees the Mad Titan Thanos. Nova charges in, but notices that he has a golden glove wielding the Power Stone. Nova is terrified and retreats to tell the Guardians. The post-credit scene shows a portal opening up on a strange planet as a Quinjet falls from the sky. A rampaging Hulk emerges from the ship as Hulk is not on Earth anymore. Before we get into this final project of Phase 3, this next project is the reason why it took so long to get this video out. Because I was trying to find a good way to merge two stories into one, in a sense. So I really hope you like it. Our next project is Captain America Civil War, taking place in 2018. Captain America led a high-stakes mission with Ant-Man, Black Panther, Falcon, Black Widow, and Scarlet Witch to capture Crossbones, a former ally turned enemy. As Crossbones prepared to blow himself up to hide Bucky's location, Wanda redirected the blast into the sky, unintentionally destroying a nearby building. Back at the Avengers compound, tensions rose as Captain Marvel arrived, responding to a long-delayed call from Fury. The global backlash from the incident pushed the United Nations to introduce the Enhanced Individuals Accord, demanding registration and regulation of all powered beings, including mutants. The X-Men, watching from the X-Mansion, were alarmed as public opinion began turning against mutants. At the United Nations Summit, as Avengers and X-Men representatives gathered to discuss the Accords, a bomb went off, planted by a brainwashed Winter Soldier. Steve captured Bucky, who revealed that Hydra's mind control was still affecting him, but all he wanted was peace. As the X-Men visited the Avengers to discuss the Accords, Wanda's mental state deteriorated, and chaos erupted as she lost control of her powers. Tests revealed that her reality warping abilities were destabilizing her mind beyond repair. When Wanda destroyed the X-Mansion in a breakdown, the Avengers rushed to help, but the X-Men refused to surrender her, claiming it was a mutant issue. A brutal battle between Avengers and X-Men began, both fighting for what they believed was right. In the middle of the fight, Bucky intervened, saving Steve, and Wanda, seeing the destruction, finally awakened. With a tear shedding down her face, Wanda whispered, "No more mutants," and reality shifted, depowering most mutants. The Avengers, confused and unaware of what had happened, returned to their compound with their memories altered. Steve asked T'Challa to help Bucky in Wakanda, while Peter Parker quietly returned home, unsure of the cost of their so-called victory. The heroes stood fractured once more, waiting for the day they'd need to come together again. The mid-credit scene shows Steve and Tony are talking, wondering why they were at that mansion a few weeks ago. Carol eventually shows up to tell them that a threat is coming to Earth. Thanos, a mad titan who is hell-bent on finding the Infinity Stones, already has one in his possession. The post-credit scene shows the Fantastic Four working on some kind of portal that will allow them to journey out into space to learn of any new threats. In doing so, they get sucked through the portal and into a place called the Negative Zone. We start off Phase 4 in 2019 with Planet Hulk. After leaving the Battle of New York, Bruce travels through space in a Quinjet, not knowing where to go. Suddenly, his ship arrives at a wormhole that transports Bruce to a new planet called Sakaar. As he arrives on the planet, he transforms into the Hulk. When he lands, he is taken as a prisoner by the Red King. Hulk is forced to fight as a gladiator in return for his freedom. After fighting through the rounds and pleasing the audience, Hulk confronts the Red King asking for freedom. The Red King never had any intention of freeing his new champion and shocks the Hulk by putting him back in his cell. While in his cell, a woman named Kiera had visited Hulk to let him out. Hulk was confused because she was the Red King's lieutenant. She had told him that she had been waiting for the right time to take down the king and rule over Sakaar. Hulk and a few other warriors worked together to stop the Red King's rule, putting him in a prison that Hulk once sat in. Hulk and Kiara decided to rule over Sakaar together and will do what they can to make it a better place. The mid-credit scene shows a normal day after ruling over Sakaar. Hulk notices a strange man crashing down onto his planet. He jumps out a window from his castle to find this man. When Hulk arrives, he notices that Thor was the one who crashed. A very tired-looking Thor looks up at Hulk, reaching a hand out for his friend, saying, "We've got a lot to talk about, friend." The post-credit scene shows Kingpin has been running his crime empire for the last 2 years, but realizes that he needs some more help. He remembers that when he was in prison, he was able to get one of the guards to let him out. He calls Dex back up again, asking him if he wants to work with him full time. Taking place right after the events of Planet Hulk, we get Thor Ragnarok, also in 2019. For the past 3 years, Thor has been searching for the Infinity Stones. He learns the Collector has the Reality Stone, Vision holds the Mind Stone, and the Space Stone is on Asgard. However, he cannot locate the Power, Time, or Soul Stones. Thor returns to Asgard only to find Heimdall gone and a new guardian, Scourge, is in his place. Shocked, he notices a massive golden statue of Loki in the palace square. Inside, Odin watches a play reenacting past events, assumingly altered in Loki's favor. Thor becomes suspicious and confronts Odin, who is revealed to be Loki in disguise. Furious, Thor demands Loki take him to their real father. They travel to Earth, but the place Loki left Odin has been destroyed. Loki is suddenly pulled into a portal, leaving Thor behind. Thor is led to the New York Sanctum, where he meets Doctor Strange. Strange agrees to help and opens a portal to Odin's location in Norway. The brothers reunite with Odin, who warns them of their sister Hela, the goddess of death. Odin dies and Hela immediately appears through a portal. Thor throws Mjolnir at her, but she destroys it effortlessly. Loki calls for the Bifrost, but Hela follows them and knocks them out of it. Thor and Loki land on a strange planet and encounter the Hulk. Hela arrives on Asgard, kills Frigga, and resurrects her undead army and wolf Fenris. Hulk and his partner Ciara agree to help Thor and Loki return to Asgard. Hulk transforms back into Bruce Banner to help fly the Quinjet. Upon returning, the group finds Asgard in ruins and Hela on the throne. Thor battles Hela but struggles until he sees a vision of Odin, who tells him his power comes from within. With newfound lightning powers, Thor turns the tide but cannot defeat Hela alone. He instructs Loki to release Surtur using his crown, knowing only Ragnarok can stop her. As Surtur destroys Asgard and kills Hela, Thor becomes king and decides to lead his people to Earth. The mid-credit scene shows Bruce is worried about heading back to Earth and what people will think of him, while also worrying about his duties on Sakaar. Ciara reassures him, saying that it's okay if he has to go back home and that he has been away from it for far too long. Turns out there was another smaller ship on board that could take her back to Sakaar. The two share a kiss as she heads back home. The post-credit scene shows Loki is wondering if it's such a good idea to head back to Earth. Thor doesn't think it would be, but he thinks if the god of mischief can change, then so can the people of Earth. In that moment, a large ship appears in front of them, as the ship belongs to the Mad Titan, Thanos. This next project is taking place a few months after the events of Thor Ragnarok. We go into Daredevil Season 3. Kingpin has nearly taken control of New York City by bribing the police, fire department, media, and lawyers. His only remaining obstacle is Daredevil, so he hires the deadly assassin Bullseye to eliminate him. Matt Murdock, having left his life as Daredevil behind, is convinced by friends to return and stop Kingpin for good. While searching Kingpin's home for evidence, Matt is ambushed by Bullseye and barely escapes with his life. With help from Karen and Foggy, Matt recovers and begins planning a counterattack. Foggy finds reports of other vigilantes, such as Iron Fist, Power Man, and Jessica Jones, who have also been opposing Kingpin's forces. Matt recruits them and forms a team to bring down Wilson Fisk. They confront Kingpin at a press conference, leading to a chaotic battle involving corrupt cops and Fisk's enforcers, Bullseye and Tombstone. The heroes defeat Bullseye and Tombstone while Matt personally takes down Kingpin in his penthouse. With Fisk and Bullseye in jail and Tombstone on the run, the heroes unite as the Defenders to protect the city. The mid-credit scene shows Tombstone is seen at a warehouse as he is assembling a group of people to try and replace Kingpin. Suddenly, the lights went out and a friendly neighborhood hero showed up and stopped him. The post-credit scene shows the Defenders are looking at the news, where it shows a strange circle-looking ship in the middle of New York as they see Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man fighting some aliens. Avengers Infinity War, taking place in 2019. Thanos and the Black Order have invaded Thor's ship and killed half of the Asgardians on board. He threatens to kill Thor before Loki unless he gives him the Tesseract. Loki hands over the cube before Hulk appears and starts attacking Thanos. With just one Infinity Stone, Thanos single-handedly takes care of the Hulk. Thor makes eye contact with his friend Heimdall, who uses dark magic to send the Hulk back to Earth to warn the Avengers. After Hulk had left, Thanos killed Heimdall, broke the Tesseract, and now has both the power and the Space Stone. In an attempt to kill Thanos, Loki tries to stab him, but Thanos stops him and breaks his neck. Thor is forced to watch all of this happen as Thanos leaves, exploding the ship, and Thor is thought to be dead. Hulk lands on Earth, crashing through the New York Sanctum as he meets Doctor Strange and Wong. He tells them that Thanos is coming and that they need to prepare. Steven and Bruce locate Tony Stark in the park with Pepper, explaining the situation, leaving Tony in shock. They head back to the Sanctum where Wong tells them about the Infinity Stones. Tony suggests destroying the Time Stone, but Steven won't do it because he took an oath to protect it. Tony is about to call Steve Rogers, but is interrupted when they hear something large outside. They see a circle-shaped ship hovering over the ground, with two members of the Black Order arriving on the ground. Ebony Maw and Cull Obsidian had come to take the Time Stone from Doctor Strange. Bruce transforms into the Hulk and has an epic battle with Cull Obsidian. Iron Man shows off his new nanotech suit, allowing him to make weapons that deal much more damage. During the fight, Hulk is about to be killed by Cull when Spider-Man shows up and stops his axe. Both Bruce and Peter work together to take down Cull. They both regroup with Tony and Steven to stop Ebony Maw. Meanwhile, out in space, the Guardians of the Galaxy and Nova are heading to a distress call about Thanos. They find the remains of the ship and crash into Thor. Bringing him on board and waking him up, Thor tells them what happened with Thanos, and Gamora tells him her connection to Thanos. Thor tells him he needs to get a new hammer to stop Thanos, with Rocket, Groot, and Nova going with him. The rest of the Guardians head to Nowhere to try and stop Thanos from getting the Reality Stone. Tony, Bruce, Peter, and Steven return to the Avengers compound and meet up with Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, and Wasp. While working on a plan, Hank asks if anyone can contact Thor. Not knowing the truth, Bruce tells them that Thanos killed Thor when he took the Space Stone. This drives the Avengers to devise a plan to stop Thanos for good. They plan to destroy one of the stones so Thanos can't get them all, so they plan to destroy Vision's stone. All they need to do now is find him. Turns out Vision has been searching for Wanda for the last year to see if he can help her mental state so that she can use her powers again. This is when Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight showed up, attacking Vision and trying to take the stone. Suddenly, a rescue team composed of Captain America, Black Widow, Falcon, Hawkeye, and War Machine arrives to stop the members of the Black Order. They barely escape and take Vision back to the compound. The Guardians arrive at nowhere to try and stop Thanos from getting the Reality Stone. They struggle to work together as a team but end up killing Thanos. Turns out this was an illusion created by the Reality Stone. Thanos takes Gamora back to his ship for questioning. The other Avengers arrive back at the compound excited to see everyone, with Vision being tested on how to take the stone out. They realize with all the smartest brains in the room, they cannot find a way to remove the stone without killing Vision. So they all head to Wakanda to meet T'Challa and his sister Shuri while reuniting with Bucky. So Tony, Bruce, Hank, Janet, Peter, and Shuri work together to remove the stone from Vision's head. Back on Thanos' ship, Gamora is being lectured by her adopted father. He then shows her sister Nebula being tortured and that he would stop the torture if she tells him where the Soul Stone is, which he tasked her to do many years ago. She eventually breaks and gives up the location of the Orange Cosmic Stone on Vormir. Soon arriving on Nidavellir, Thor finds that an old dwarf named Eitri is the only one left on the ring. Thanos had threatened to kill every dwarf on the ring unless he made a device that could harness the power of the stones. He just killed them all anyway, but left Eitri alive. His hands were left damaged. Thor convinces Eitri that he can still make weapons without his hands, so they begin making a king's weapon called Stormbreaker. Nebula escapes her torture and sends a message to Mantis telling her to meet her on Earth. A portal opens up on Vormir with Thanos and Gamora exiting it. They head up a mountain where they find the Guardian of the Stone, who turns out to be the Red Skull. He tells Thanos that the stone needs a sacrifice to receive it. He throws his daughter Gamora off a ledge. A soul for a soul was required. Thanos wakes up in a puddle of water with the Soul Stone in his hand. Back in Wakanda, the group is working on Vision to get the Mind Stone out, with Captain Marvel on standby to destroy it. While doing some recon, Carol notices a ship entering Earth's orbit, flying closer to it to see it's the Guardians of the Galaxy. Carol recognizes them and asks why they are here. Star-Lord tells her he is here to save Gamora, whom Thanos took. With Carol in confusion, telling him that Thanos isn't on Earth yet, suddenly another larger ship arrives behind them and lands in Wakanda. Captain Marvel tells the Guardians to follow her to help the Avengers. T'Challa tells the Avengers to prepare for battle. They meet where the ships landed, and out by the barrier, the Black Order, who had escaped their previous fights with the Avengers, are trying to break through. T'Challa tells them to leave, or else there will be nothing but blood and dust for Thanos. Proxima Midnight releases the Outriders, an army of aliens that feast on blood, to break through the barrier. With some of the Outriders breaking through, others found a way around. T'Challa opened the barrier and led the charge into battle with Captain America. An all-out war is going on with Wakanda and the Black Order. Ebony Maw leads some of the Outriders and the rest of the Black Order to target Doctor Strange. Some of the Avengers offer to help Stephen, but he is confident enough to take them all down. At that moment, he is ambushed by more Outriders, with Maw holding him in place and Cull Obsidian knocking him out. Maw tries to take the stone, but a spell protects it. So Cole takes the Eye of Agamotto and leaves Stephen unconscious. The Outriders outnumbered the heroes left and right. When all hope seemed lost, Thor showed up with Groot, Rocket, and Nova at an epic entrance using his new weapon to kill the Outriders. Thanos shows up further away from the battle, where Ebony Maw gave him the Eye of Agamotto to break open and take the Time Stone. Now with 5 Infinity Stones, he makes his way towards the battle to take the Mind Stone. Walking through the battlefield, he takes on Wakandans left and right, leaving a bloodbath in his wake. Each Avenger and Guardian attack with all they have, but he can do anything with the 5 stones. Looking outside the lab, Carol sees Thanos is coming and decides to fly outside to help. She has an epic one-on-one fight with Thanos, but with the strength of the Power Stone and the vast access of the Space Stone, he delivers a powerful punch that knocks her out and sends her through a portal that takes her out into space. As Vision is having surgery on the stone, he screams in pain, telling the Avengers to flee and save themselves as a large blast from Thanos blows up the lab. Peter, who had his spider sense, had avoided the blast. Thanos walked in looking for Vision, and as the smoke cleared, Spider-Man was the only thing standing in the way of the Mad Titan. Peter jumped into the air, shooting his webs at Thanos, only for him to pull Peter closer to him, with Peter dodging the attack. A Power Stone blast went straight for him as he dodged it using all of his web fluid to web Thanos up. But the webs weren't strong enough to hold Thanos. Peter grabs Vision and tries to escape the lab, but Thanos uses the time stone to rewind everything. Thanos grabs Peter in one hand and Vision in the other and says to Peter,
"For an insect, you're quite a strong little one."
Holding Peter in his hand, he walks over to where the hole in the lab was and uses the Power Stone to send Peter flying. Thanos looks at Vision as he makes a final attack with the Mind Stone, but using the 5 stones, he makes a barrier for himself as he pulls out the last stone, killing Vision in the process. As Thanos looks at the power he has, a blast from Thor strikes Thanos. Getting back up, he fires his blast with Thor using his full power, hitting Thanos right in the chest. Thor pushes Stormbreaker further into his chest. Thanos whispers to Thor,
"You should have gone for the head,"
as he snaps his fingers, completing his mission to bring balance to the universe by wiping out half of all life. Thor is confused as to what Thanos did as he portals away. As people around the battlefield started feeling weird, Steve looked towards Bucky, who started to turn to dust. Soon, other members of the Avengers would turn to dust. Falcon, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, War Machine, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Star-Lord, Groot, Drax, and Mantis. Soon, other Avengers would turn to dust as well. Falcon, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, War Machine, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Star-Lord, Groot, Drax, and Mantis. Half of the heroes who had protected the Earth have now been dusted. Bruce, Tony, Hank, and Janet woke up and saw the body of Vision on the ground, lifeless. They saw the hole in the wall with people turning to dust. We then see Thanos walking outside, sitting on a porch, and smiling at a half-living universe. The mid-credit scene shows the Fantastic Four have entered the negative zone and are confused on how to get back. In the distance, we see a winged creature flying over them as the ruler of this dimension. A nihilist is about to start hunting them. The post-credit scene shows out in the emptiness of space, a strange cosmic energy is making its way towards Earth as a powerless Jean Grey looks up towards the sky. The next movie in this phase is similar to how Ant-Man and the Wasp was, where the movie takes place during the events of Infinity War. This next movie will be taking place a couple days before the events of Infinity War. The Fantastic Four, the Negative Zone. After Galactus' past threat, the Fantastic Four develop devices to detect cosmic dangers. Reed and Sue's young son Franklin begins manifesting powerful psychic abilities. Reed receives an alert about a dangerous space rift that could threaten Earth. The team builds a new ship called the Fantasticar to investigate and repair the rift. As they approach, they are pulled into a strange reverse dimension, the Negative Zone. While exploring, a winged alien abducts Sue, taking her to the lair of the villain Annihilus. Annihilus questions Sue and reveals his plan to conquer Earth through the rift. The rest of the team battles alien forces while Reed worries about Franklin back on Earth. Meanwhile, Franklin watches troubling news about Iron Man and Doctor Strange battling unknown aliens. Sue struggles to escape a power-adapting cage while Annihilus grows obsessed with Earth. The team storms Annihilus' tower and rescues Sue after an intense fight. They hatch a risky plan involving Johnny generating extreme heat to seal the rift. Johnny pushes his power to the limit, turning his flames white hot to wield the portal shut. The team escapes through the rift just as Johnny seals it behind them, trapping Annihilus in the Negative Zone. Back at the Baxter building, they sense something is wrong. A now 9-year-old Franklin greets them, shocked, and says he thought they died 5 years ago during Thanos' attack. The mid-credit scene shows Franklin telling his family that he had been looking into different ways to find his parents by using strange dimensions like jump gates and the quantum realm. He tells them about Thanos and how he attacked Earth and used things called the Infinity Stones to wipe out half of all life. Reed is confused on how he didn't detect this threat, but Sue reassures him, saying it happened when they were gone. Ben was confused on how this is possible since they were only in the Negative Zone for a few hours. Franklin said he tried doing some research on the rift but could never get close to it. The Fantastic Four decide to head to the Avengers compound to check on Earth's mightiest heroes. The post-credit scene shows Scott Summer is living a normal life, no longer a mutant. One morning, waking up to look in the mirror, seeing his eyes beginning to glow red. He starts freaking out as red concussive blasts emerge from his eyes. He instinctively puts on these red glasses that he forgot he had and then whispers to himself, "Jean." Our next movie is actually going to be taking place during the events of the blip. X-Men Dark Phoenix, taking place in 2020. After the fallout of Captain America's Civil War, mutants had lost their powers until the Phoenix Force returned to Earth. The cosmic entity found Jean Grey, restoring her abilities and reversing Wanda's spell. As a result, many X-Men regained both their powers and memories. They reunited at the X-Mansion where Jean awaited them, though she seemed unstable. When Scott tried to kiss his wife, she pulled away and fainted. Inside, Hank discovers her powers were tied to the ancient Phoenix Force, which had created a dual personality in Jean. Jean awoke, torn between joy over restoring her family and fear of her own uncontrollable power. She warned Scott that Earth needed to die for a better one to be reborn. When Scott tried to reason with her, she transformed into Phoenix and fled. Magneto appeared, declaring that Jean must be killed to prevent another global catastrophe. Though Scott wanted to save her, Magneto insisted death was the only solution. Meanwhile, mutants worldwide began regaining their powers due to Jean. The X-Men tracked Jean to a scene of chaos and destruction where even Storm's full power couldn't stop her. Jean overpowered everyone, and Wolverine told Scott he had to end it. With help from Rogue and Colossus, Scott reached Jean, and heartbroken, he killed her with his optic blast. The X-Men mourned Jean, while the Phoenix Force left Earth in search of a new host. The mid-credits scene shows after the battle of X-Men vs. Jean, a man in a suit walks up and sees the body of the deceased Jean laying in a crater. He pulls out a syringe and draws some blood from her body. He puts the blood in a briefcase, and on the case it says Essex Corp. The post-credits scene shows a therapy group session going on that is led by Steve Rogers. There, he tells people that it can be hard to move on, but they have to move on or else Thanos would have killed everyone. As the session ended and Steve was packing up, Scott shows up and tells him, "I only caught the last bit of that, but that was some good stuff." Steve turns around and smiles. They both shake hands, with Steve saying, "I heard about what happened. I'm sorry about Jean. Listen, if you need anything from me, I'll be here to help." Scott thanks Steve as he tries to hold it together. Steve apologizes to Scott for what happened all those years ago with Wanda. Scott is surprised to hear this and accepts his apology. Now, you might have already noticed that some of these projects are either very short or not very long. There's not a whole lot of detail, but some of it is kind of getting straight to the point. That's not going to be the case for this next movie, because this next movie is Avengers Endgame. This movie takes place in 2024. Back at the Avengers compound with the ones who survived the snap, Tony, Hank, and Janet are still recovering from the battle while the rest devise a plan. Hulk has been in control to let Bruce heal. Rocket, Nebula, and Carol are in the Guardian's ship scanning planets to find Thanos' whereabouts. After a few days of searching, Rocket found a planet that had experienced a similar energy signature to the Infinity Stones. Nebula, Hulk, Captain America, Thor, Rocket, and Captain Marvel all headed out into space to find Thanos and reverse what he had done. They found Thanos with no weapons, army, or battleships when they arrived. We see Thanos making dinner for the evening with much damage done to his left side when Captain Marvel charges in, attacking him. The Avengers hold him down, cutting off his hand. Rocket flips over to see that the stones were gone. Thanos tells them he used the stones to destroy the stones. Nebula tells them Thanos isn't a liar, and Thor cuts his head off. The Avengers return home and go their separate ways out of grief and loss. 5 years later, Hank and Janet are the only ones still working at the Avengers compound. They have been studying the quantum realm to see if they can use this to help humanity. One day while they were working, they got a visit from Steve, who told them he got a visit from Scott Summers at his therapy group. Hank and Janet were surprised after remembering what the X-Men did all those years ago. Steve then asked why they continued to work in this place. Hank tells him because it helps take his mind off all the people he couldn't save. And Janet had given up trying to get him to leave 2 years ago. Suddenly, a call came from the front door where the Fantastic Four asked to talk to the Avengers. Steve thought it was an old message, but Janet said it was the security cameras. The Fantastic Four came in trying to understand how to undo what Thanos did. But Hank was confused about how they were alive. Reed tells them they got stuck in a place called the negative zone where they were affected by time dilation and were stuck there for a few hours. Johnny says it was like a form of time travel. Hank asks Reed if he has ever studied the quantum realm before. Reed says he hasn't, but is a quick study and could figure it out. Hank wondered if the quantum realm could be used to travel through time, because if the stones are in the past, they could get them and snap their fingers. Reed was interested in this, as they went straight to the lab. Ben wonders what happened to the Avengers, as Steve tells them that after they returned from killing Thanos, they disbanded and went their own separate ways. However, Steve tells them they must get the team back together if they can crack time travel. So Steve, Janet, Johnny, and Sue head out to convince the Avengers to come back and help. They first went to Tony, who now has a daughter with Pepper and has stopped doing hero work. They tell him about time travel, but he doesn't believe it's possible. They say that Hank and Reed are already working on it. Tony doesn't care and wants to put all that to rest. They leave without getting help from Tony, but they go to another genius, Bruce Banner, who has combined Bruce's intelligence and the Hulk's strength into one being. Bruce was willing to help and went with them back to the compound. Later that night, Tony wakes up to get something to drink, with Pepper turning on the lights to confront him. Pepper tells him that trying to get Tony to stop being a hero has been the hardest challenge of her life, but on this kind of scale, they will need Iron Man. Hank, Reed, and Bruce worked on a prototype quantum tunnel, but struggled to get it to work. Janet contacted their space members, Rocket, Nebula, Nova, and Captain Marvel, to return to the compound. Steve steps outside the compound to think, with Tony showing up to help figure out time travel. Tony tells Bruce he will step in, and he should go with Rocket to get Thor. Bruce and Rocket head to Norway, where Thor and the rest of the Asgardians, called New Asgard, have begun to rebuild their home on Earth. When they get there, they meet up with Ciara, who is glad to see Bruce. Ciara told Bruce that after hearing what happened with Thanos, she would return to New Asgard and leave her old life behind. Bruce was happy about this and noticed that she had a small green child next to her. She introduced her son Scar, saying Bruce is the father. They were both shocked at this, as Rocket asked if they could go see Thor. Ciara told them that he would be in the gym if they were looking for him. Bruce and Rocket head to the gym and see Thor meditating. Lightning emits around his body, and Bruce calls out his name. Thor opens his eyes, and thunder strikes the entire land of New Asgard. He stands up, happy to see them both, and hugs them. Thor, looking stronger than ever, is in his prime and has been able to tap into more of his godly powers. Thor asks why they were here and if they want to join him for a quick session. Bruce tells them that they are here to help undo what Thanos did. Thor's face grew angry as he remembered everything Thanos had taken from him. Bruce told him that they couldn't do this without him, and if they could get this time travel thing to work, everything would be fixed. Thor is just trying to move on from the past and be the new king of Asgard. Thor refuses to help and sits back down to meditate. Rocket tells him there's protein powder on the ship. Thor opened his eyes as they headed back to the compound. A weapons dealer is selling vibranium weapons to criminals from an abandoned warehouse somewhere in Africa. Suddenly, the lights went out, and tiny purple eyes emerged from the darkness. The dealers were being taken out left and right, leaving only panther claws in their chest. The lights come back on, and we see Black Panther in an upgraded gold and black suit. Steve is the one who turned on the lights and went over to talk to him. T'Challa was in no talking mood, but was interrupted by Steve saying they need his help and that they can bring his family back. T'Challa doesn't believe it is possible and takes off his mask. Steve tells him that everyone needs some hope now and then. The Avengers have reunited at the compound and finished the time machine. However, they need someone to test the machine. T'Challa volunteers to test the machine and suits up in a new quantum suit. He gets sent back in time and sees his mother and sister again from the shadows. He gets pulled back to the present and confirms the machine works. The time heist has been set in motion, and now they need to figure out when and where the stones were used in their history. They learn that in 2012, they can find the Mind, Space, and Time Stone in New York. In 2013, they can find the Reality Stone at Nowhere with the Collector. And in 2015, they can find the Power and Soul Stone. They break up into teams to go after the stones. Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, and Black Panther would head to 2012. Thor and Nova would head to Nowhere to get the Reality Stone. Rocket and Nebula would get the Power Stone, while Ant-Man and Wasp would go get the Soul Stone in 2015. Captain Marvel and the Fantastic Four would stay back at the compound and ensure the machine works. They shrink down through the quantum realm and take a trip down memory lane. Bruce heads for the Time Stone, meets the Ancient One, and asks her to give him the Time Stone. She rejects the offer and pushes Bruce into his astral projected form. In 2013, Thor and Nova arrive at Nowhere and go after the Reality Stone. With Nova being a member of the Nova Corps for Xandar, they ask the Collector to hand over the Ether or else he would go to jail, for he was holding onto an artifact that could destroy the universe. In 2015, Rocket and Nebula arrive on Morag to get the Power Stone, while Ant-Man and Wasp take the Guardians ship to Vormir. Nebula tells Rocket they need to hurry because this was the year Thanos started looking for the Infinity Stones. We then see 2015 Nebula and Gamora taking over a planet and getting called back to see Thanos. Thanos arrives telling his daughters they will be dispatched to Ronin's ship to collect the Power Stone. Suddenly, Nebula sees footage of her future self and gets taken onto Thanos' ship. From a distance, Tony watches the Avengers stop Loki and has T'Challa pretend to be a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., who will take the stone off at the Avengers' hands. Steve goes after the Mind Stone by telling S.H.I.E.L.D. members he is with them as he whispers, "Hail Hydra," in one of their ears. T'Challa gets the stone and heads for a door, with the Hulk bursting through it since he had to take the stairs. The case breaks open and Loki takes the Tesseract to disappear. Bruce tries to convince the Ancient One to give him the Time Stone. This is when the Ancient One shows Bruce that if she gives up the stone, then it would endanger her reality. For if the stone were removed, it would create a branch timeline. Bruce tells her that it would be like they never left if they put the stones back where they took them. She tells him they will have to survive whatever they are doing, and that the Sorcerer Supreme must protect the Time Stone. That's when Bruce told her that Doctor Strange had protected the Time Stone with his life, but was ambushed and had taken the Time Stone from him. And before he could go after it, he was turned to dust. This makes the Ancient One question if Stephen will become the Sorcerer Supreme, but Bruce continues to convince the Ancient One, and she gives him the stone. Back on Thanos' ship, we see Nebula getting plugged into a machine that allows Thanos to see future Nebula's memories. Rocket and Nebula wait outside for Star-Lord so they can knock him out and take a device from him to open the doors to the Power Stone. They retrieve the Power Stone and head back, but before they do, Nebula gets her network linked to her past self and passes out as Thanos views the memories of the future Nebula. Present Nebula wakes up and goes to warn Hank and Janet, but it is too late. Past Thanos arrives on Morag and captures Nebula. Tony tells Steve they blew it, and the Space Stone slipped through their hands. Steve asks if there's another chance with the stone. T'Challa reminds them that they only have enough particles to get back home. Tony remembers when the stone and particles were simultaneously at the same place. Steve gives the scepter to T'Challa and tells him to return to the compound. Tony and Steve head back to 1990 at a S.H.I.E.L.D. facility where the Tesseract would be used in a project called Pegasus to create a light-speed engine. Tony finds the cube but runs into his father. Steve distracts a young Hank Pym and takes some particles. While trying to escape, Steve has to hide in an office and reveals that it is Peggy Carter's office. We then see Peggy Carter in another office looking much older from when we last saw her. Steve looks at her through the glass and thinks about how great time travel can be. Tony and Steve regroup and head back to the compound. Nebula is being guarded by her sister Gamora, who tries to get her to rebel against Thanos with her. But Nebula shows up and starts attacking her future self. Her past self takes some of the Pym particles and hands them over to Thanos, while also disguising herself as her future self. On Vormir, Hank and Janet make it to the mountain, where the Red Skull greets them and tells them the requirements to get the stone. One of them will need to sacrifice themselves for the stone. Hank and Janet fight each other to show that they are willing to die for each other. In the end, Janet calmed Hank down long enough to tell him, "Look after Hope for me, everything is going to be okay." She takes off her suit and falls off the cliff as a bright light flashes. As Hank wakes up in a puddle with the Soul Stone in his hand, he tries to hold it together. The Avengers each make their way back to the compound, and when they return, Hank falls to his knees and lets it all out. They look around to see that Janet isn't with them and put two and two together. The Avengers head out to a nearby lake and mourn Janet's loss. Hank gets angry, gets big, and throws a tree into the distance. Tony, Bruce, and Rocket work on making a nano gauntlet with all the Infinity Stones that they had gathered. Once it was ready, the real question came up. Who was going to snap their fingers? Thor suggests he should do it because for the last 5 years, he's been working as hard as he can to become the strongest version of himself. But Steve told him to wait. Bruce looks at them and says he has to do it because the radiation that comes off the gauntlet is gamma radiation. They all agree and lock the compound down as Bruce puts on the gauntlet. The immense power from the stones made Bruce struggle a bit, but he could use his strength to snap his fingers and reverse what Thanos did. While this happened, Nebula logged in the time coordinates and brought Thanos and his army to the present. They have no idea if it worked or not, but they don't have time to worry about that as Thanos launches an attack on the compound. The Avengers are buried under the rubble of the compound, with Thanos being teleported down to the ground. Nebula asks what her father will do, with him sitting down and saying,
Wait.
Tony wakes up Steve and they walk over to Thor. They all look down at Thanos and make their way towards him. Thanos gives them a speech about how they couldn't live with their own failure, and that with the stones they had collected, he will use them to create a new universe from the ashes of this one. The battle begins with them charging at Thanos as the rest of the Avengers make their way out of the rubble. Hank finds the gauntlet and takes it with him. Tony and Thor do combo attacks, but it does nothing to Thanos. Thor gets ready for another battle with Thanos as lightning bolts strike him. Thor powers up and the battle begins. Thor's attacks are lightning fast and strong, but Thanos can take them as an epic battle occurs. Thor still gets hit a few times, and Thanos is about to kill Thor, but Captain America uses his shield to attack Thanos. The Mad Titan makes his way to the Super Soldier as Thanos' sword damages the shield and he cuts it in half. The rest of his army lands and is gathering behind Thanos. Captain America gets up, tightens what's left of his shield, and walks towards the army. Suddenly, he hears a voice in his earpiece. It's Sam's voice saying, "On your left." Suddenly, a portal opens up, and War Machine, Bucky, Okoye, and Shuri leave it. Sam flies out, and other portals open. Doctor Strange and the Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Wakandan warriors, Asgardian warriors, Wong with some sorcerers. Pepper shows up in her iron rescue suit, and the Ravagers. Doctor Strange walks over to Wong and asks him if that's everyone. Wong opens up one last portal inside the Baxter building, and the Fantastic Four walk out. Hank becomes giant, holding Bruce, Rocket, and T'Challa, emerging from the rubble. Captain America looks back at the army, then at Thanos, and in a loud voice, he screams, "Avengers, assemble!" and the battle for Earth begins. The battle continues and everyone reunites on the battlefield and is happy to see each other again. Nebula shows up with Gamora, who has agreed to work with the Avengers and eliminate Thanos. Peter is shocked to see Gamora again, but she doesn't remember him and goes back into battle. Steve and Bucky reunite and take down the aliens side by side. The Thing and Mr. Fantastic are taking down some bigger enemies while Spider-Man is going through the Black Order with Doctor Strange. Nova, War Machine, and the Human Torch are taking down the Leviathans in the sky, and the original Avengers team, minus the Wasp, are attacking Thanos together using every skill they have and working like a well-oiled machine. Thanos demands his ship rains fire, and large missiles of energy hit the ground, taking out people left and right. Suddenly, the attacks stop. They begin to target upwards towards the sky. Captain Marvel comes crashing down, tanking every hit from the blast and smashing through Thanos' ship. Unfortunately, the blast took out some of the heroes on the ground. Thanos looks up at Captain Marvel as she looks down at him. A few feet away, the gauntlet lies on the ground and Thanos goes after it. Tony goes to stop him, but is knocked out. Thor and Steve show up attacking him, but are taken down again. He grabs the gauntlet and puts it on and is about to snap his fingers as Captain Marvel stops him. Thanos headbutts Captain Marvel, but it does nothing. She continues to attack him, but he takes out the Power Stone and punches her, sending her flying. The Avengers look on at Thanos as he puts the stone back in the gauntlet. Suddenly, a red concussive blast hits Thanos. He gets off the ground, looks up, and he sees some people falling from the sky. Members of the X-Men show up to take down Thanos. Storm uses her lightning to shock Thanos as Rogue catches Wolverine and Gambit, throwing them at Thanos. Gambit gets on Wolverine's shoulders and charges up his claws to become indestructible exploding claws. His claws pierce Thanos' armor and explode. Tony gets back up and connects the gauntlet to his suit, allowing the stones to go to his suit. Reed goes after Thanos and stretches around him and holds him down. Thanos looks at Tony as the stones assemble on his hand, and Tony snaps his fingers. Thanos' army slowly turns to dust, with Thanos turning to dust last. Tony walks over to a place where he can sit down and shows us that the power of the stones was too much for a normal human. Rhodey and Pepper show up next to Tony to comfort him, with Pepper telling him it's okay to rest now, and that her and Morgan will be okay. Tony then passes away as we see the Avengers, the Guardians, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men look towards Tony as they realize his sacrifice. We then cut to scenes of the heroes reuniting with their families, like T'Challa back in Wakanda with his mother and sister, Hawkeye visiting his family along with Natasha, Peter swings back to New York to see MJ, and Hank holding his daughter Hope in his arms. We head to Tony's house to see a recorded message with Tony talking to Pepper and Morgan. They all head out for a funeral to honor Tony Stark and Janet. After the funeral, we see Thor back in New Asgard, where he has now taken on the mantle of king and is ruler of New Asgard. Peter is looking for Gamora, who had run off while everyone was surrounding Tony. Hulk, Beast, and Mr. Fantastic have rebuilt the quantum tunnel, and Steve is about to return the stones to put them in their proper places. Sam offers to accompany him, but Steve tells him this is a solo mission. Bucky can sense what Steve is going to do and hugs him goodbye. Steve takes the case, stands on top of the quantum tunnel. He is sent back in time, but doesn't return. Bruce and Reed are confused as Bucky tells everyone to look over by the lake. Sam walks over to an elderly Steve Rogers who is sitting on a bench. Sam asks what happened with Steve, saying that after he put the stones back, he went back to his own time and lived his life with Peggy. Sam was happy for him, but was upset that the world had just lost Captain America. Steve opens up a case that holds a new vibranium shield and gives it to Sam. Sam takes the shield and says he will do his best. We then see Steve and Peggy back in the 1940s dancing inside a house as they share a final kiss. Our next movie is Spider-Man Brand New Day, taking place in 2024. Peter Parker returns from being dusted and reunites with his wife MJ. He explains how Thanos wiped out half the population and the Avengers brought everyone back. Their reunion is interrupted by police sirens as a new villain, Sandman, robs a bank nearby. Peter hesitates to leave MJ, but she encourages him to go. Peter suits up and swings into action through the city. Sandman is shocked to see Spider-Man alive. Peter struggles in his attempt to stop Sandman, who escapes with the money. Peter realizes many new villains have emerged in the time he's been gone. He returns home to find MJ researching these new threats. Together they learn about multiple villains: Sandman, an electricity-powered man, a sewer-dwelling lizard, and a cat burglar. Troubled by what he's missed, Peter goes to check in on Aunt May. He's heartbroken to discover that she died in 2021, 2 years after he disappeared. Peter visits her grave, bringing her flowers and apologizing for not being there. A man named Martin Lee approaches, revealing he knew May through a shelter called Feast. Martin explains that May worked there during the blip to help others in need. Peter is moved by the good his aunt did before passing. Martin invites Peter to visit Feast anytime. While swinging home, Peter responds to an alarm at a museum. He finds masked men with glowing weapons stealing important files. Peter confronts them, but their weapons had a strange effect on Peter that allowed the demon gang to escape. Days later, Peter visits Martin at Feast for advice on time management and failure. Martin gives Peter some solid advice and warns him to be careful. When asked about knowing anything about this strange demon gang, Martin tensed up but denies knowing anything about them. While patrolling, Peter is ambushed by a man in a skull mask using an electric rope to trap him. The attacker, Taskmaster, copies Peter's fighting style but still couldn't bring down Spider-Man. He manages to escape through a smoke bomb, leaving Peter frustrated. Peter vents to MJ about his failures against these new threats. MJ reassures him, reminding him he's just a little rusty and still grieving over Tony Stark's death. He might not have been a mentor to him, but he was still Peter's friend. Peter joins a police standoff with the demon gang and helps rescue an injured police officer named Officer Davis. A few days later, Officer Davis is honored for his bravery, but the gang attacks the award rally and an explosion kills Officer Davis. Peter is able to save his son Miles Morales. Spider-Man battles Mr. Negative, who traps him in a vision of past traumas. Peter breaks free after confronting Martin Lee, who reveals himself to be Mr. Negative. Martin escapes and steals a dangerous chemical from Oscorp and is going to use it on the city for revenge. At Grand Central Station, Peter fights to stop Martin from releasing this chemical. Their battle moves to a train where Peter defeats Martin and averts disaster. Martin is arrested and is sent to the raft, but before he was taken, Peter tells him, "If you help someone, you help everyone, and I'm going to help you." Peter returns to MJ saying this whole thing with Martin Lee is over. MJ smiles knowing that even though Martin has been put away, this whole hero thing will never be over. The mid-credit scene shows Peter returns to the Feast Center and says he will help out in any way he can. And while he was there, Miles shows up asking if this was a place where he could help people in need. The post-credit scene shows Logan is at a bar having a drink and smoking on a cigar. A woman walks up to the bar asking if this seat was taken. She sits down and tries talking with Logan. Logan doesn't seem very interested, but notices she is carrying a strange red stone. Our next project in Phase 4 is The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, taking place in 2024. After Steve Rogers passes the mantle of Captain America and S.H.I.E.L.D. to Sam Wilson, Sam doubts his worthiness and donates it to a museum. Meanwhile, a group called the Serpent Society emerges, causing chaos with the goal of uniting the world under one order as it was during the blip. The government monitors the group and surprisingly gives the shield to John Walker, announcing him as the new Captain America. Bucky confronts Sam after giving up the shield, and Sam admits he didn't know they would assign it to someone else. Bucky has been undergoing therapy for past trauma, struggles with Sam's decision, feeling it undermines Steve's trust in both of them. Sam and Bucky team up when they get a lead on the Serpent Society member and are unexpectedly aided by John Walker during the mission. Walker offers to work together, but Sam and Bucky refuse due to their resentment over the shield situation. During a therapy session, Bucky challenges Sam about giving up the shield, revealing his own insecurities about Steve's judgment. Sam admits he made a mistake, and they agree to partner up until the Serpent Society is defeated. They systematically capture members of the Serpent Society, leaving only their leader, King Cobra. In Madripoor, John Walker meets a man who has created an almost perfect super soldier serum and was going to give it to the Serpent Society. Walker kills him and takes the serum for himself to become what he thinks is the true Captain America. Sam and Bucky notice Walker's enhanced strength and realize that he has taken some kind of serum. When they find King Cobra, he surrenders without resistance, which raises suspicion. It's revealed the Serpent Society planned to be imprisoned so they could stage a breakout and seize control of S.H.I.E.L.D. During the escape attempt, Walker kills a member in a fit of rage and flees, haunted by his actions. Sam and Bucky pursue Walker, and after a brutal fight, they reclaim the shield and leave Walker defeated. Time passes as Sam trains with the shield, Walker is stripped of his title, and Bucky gifts Sam with the new Captain America suit from Wakanda. Walker is approached by Allegra de Fontaine, who recruits him for covert missions under a new identity. When the Serpent Society attack world leaders, Sam and Bucky fight back, with John unexpectedly joining the battle. After defeating King Cobra, Sam declares himself Captain America and urges world leaders to make better choices or face worse threats in the future. The mid-credit scene shows Sam Wilson is continuing to practice with the shield at the Avengers compound as he was waiting for Thunderbolt Ross to show up, who was asking him about starting up the Avengers again. The post-credit scene shows, at the New York Sanctum, a knock on the door gets the attention of Doctor Strange. When he opened the door, a man named Johnny Blaze was asking Doctor Strange for help with Mephisto. Now, this next group, I don't really know too much about them, so I really hope you guys enjoy it as we go to the final project of Phase 4, Midnight Suns, which takes place in 2025. Mordo has left Kamar-Taj after losing faith in Doctor Strange due to his use of the Time Stone. He encountered a mysterious man whose skull ignited with hellfire, revealing himself as Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider, aka Johnny Blaze, explained that his powers came from a deal with Mephisto. Mephisto had tasked him with hunting down people who had been dusted, angry that their souls had vanished from hell. Intrigued, Mordo asked Johnny to summon Mephisto to see if he could strike his own deal. Mephisto was impressed with Mordo's dark views on stealing magic and offered him a new deal, releasing Johnny. As a part of the deal, Mephisto ordered Mordo to kill Johnny and take his powers. Johnny escaped and fled to the New York Sanctum to seek help from Doctor Strange. Mordo attacked the Sanctum, leading to a fierce battle between him, Strange, and Ghost Rider. Realizing Mordo's strength had grown under Mephisto's influence, Strange decided they needed allies. They began a global search and found Moon Knight, Blade, and Man-Thing to aid their cause. The group tracked Mephisto and Mordo to a bar where they were targeting souls of the dusted. Already at the bar were Logan and Elsa Bloodstone fighting off demons. The heroes joined forces in a massive battle, ultimately killing Mordo to break his pact with Mephisto. Though enraged, Mephisto was banished back to Hell, and the heroes vowed to reunite if mystical threats rose again. The mid-credit scene shows Stephen Grant waking up in his apartment wondering what happened, as he is now in New York wondering how he got there. The post-credit scene shows us when the Avengers went back in time, we see Loki escaping with the Tesseract. He lands in the desert as a strange group of people in black and orange armor arrive and arrest Loki for creating a branch on the sacred timeline. Alright, so our first project to kick off the multiverse saga is going to be Loki, taking place outside of space and time. Season 1. This show takes place outside of space and time, where Loki gets arrested by the TVA for crimes against the sacred timeline. We begin to learn about the multiverse and that the Loki we see in this show originated from a branch timeline. His reality starts to shift when he learns that not even an Infinity Stone can help him here. A TVA worker named Mobius has taken a liking to this variant, Loki, and wants to have a philosophical discussion about life. Free will emerges as the two work together to solve a case involving some TVA hunters who have gone missing, and the cause is attributed to a variant of Loki. The variant, Loki, is female and goes by the name Sylvie. Loki is interested in this variant and listens to what she has to say about the Timekeepers and how the TVA should be destroyed, allowing everyone to have free will instead of everything being predetermined for them. Loki and Sylvie eventually make their way to the Timekeepers and they learn that they were robots. Loki would get pruned and sent to the Void. When he wakes up thinking he's dead, he then notices other variants of himself in a giant purple cloud roaming the skies. Loki follows his variants across the Void until he finds a familiar face. Mobius arrives with Sylvie. Working together with the other variants, they stop the purple cloud known as a Goliath that feeds on anything sent to the Void. Sylvie and Loki enchant it, allowing a tear in space to open where a citadel sits at the end of time. When they head inside, they meet a man called He Who Remains, the man who controls the flow of time. He tells them that he has been the one paving the way for them to meet each other. Loki asks him about the multiversal war and if any of that was true. He tells them that it's all true and that it is because of him and his variants. He pulls out a strange device that shows how the war began, and that a man from the 32nd century discovered multiple realities stacked on top of each other, kind of like pancakes. At the same time, each one of these variants was interacting with the others. Unfortunately, not every version of this man was so peaceful. Most of them were conquerors who tried to rule over other realities. Eventually, only one variant remained, who had weaponized the power of Goliath and ended the multiversal war. After that, he isolated the timeline so that no other reality could interfere with this universe. Sylvie still thinks it's a trick and still wants to kill him, but Loki believes him. So, He Who Remains thought of an idea. He tells them that there are two options here. One, they could kill him and let the multiverse be exposed, causing another war, or two, let them run over everything. Sylvie still doesn't buy it and goes in for the kill. Loki steps in and tries to stop her. The two fight it out, with Loki being pushed through a temporary portal, and Sylvie kills He Who Remains, as his final words were, "See you soon." Loki is sent back to the TVA, where he meets up with Mobius and learns that he is no longer in the same TVA. As he used to see statues of the Timekeepers, now he sees a statue of Kang the Conqueror. Season 2. Suddenly, Loki begins experiencing time slipping, meaning he is slipping through time at the TVA, which shouldn't be possible because the TVA is supposed to exist outside of time. Slipping back into the present, Loki and Mobius work together to find the cause of the time slipping and eventually find Sylvie along the way. Loki learns that there are timelines out there that are disintegrating. Eventually, Loki learns how to control his time slipping and goes to different parts of branch timelines to ask philosophical questions about learning who lives and who dies when choosing who gets free will. Eventually, Loki slips back to the moment of He Who Remains' death and has a conversation with him about a device meant to help maintain the flow of time, called the Loom. Eventually, Loki chooses to break the loom and replace it with something new. Loki heads out to break the loom, and as time flows by, a new godly outfit appears and the loom shatters. During this time, Loki can grab strands or pieces of a timeline and pull them within him. That's when a tear in space opened where the Citadel is. Loki walks towards the tear, grabbing as many vines as possible and drags them to a chair that transforms into a golden throne. As he sits down and connects the vines, the camera zooms out, revealing a new timeline that unfolds in the shape of the Yggdrasil tree. The mid-credit scene shows a man coming out of the water to meet some people on a sandbank near the ocean as Namor emerges to see Black Panther and the Fantastic Four. The post-credit scene shows a strange-looking world with strange-looking creatures and what looks like portals in the sky as some bright light crashes down to the ground as we see a man crawl out of a ship in battle-damaged purple and green armor. Kang the Conqueror has been banished to the quantum realm. Our next project in the timeline is actually on the timeline. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, taking place in 2025. T'Challa works tirelessly to maintain peace between Wakanda and the rest of the world. He shares Wakandan resources in hopes of preventing future conflict. He even assists the Fantastic Four from time to time. One night, he sits by the campfire with his mother and sister Shuri, discussing ways to improve Wakanda. As they talk, T'Challa senses an unknown presence approaching. A mysterious man with pointy ears, ankle wings, and vibranium jewels emerges from the water. T'Challa demands to know who he is and why he has come here. The man introduces himself as Namor and says he is inspecting Wakanda. Namor declares that Talokan is superior and plans to take all of Wakanda's vibranium for himself. T'Challa refuses to surrender their strongest metal to a potential enemy. Namor gives T'Challa 1 week to reconsider before disappearing back into the water. T'Challa begins preparing Wakanda's forces, though he knows nothing about this Talokan location. Shuri searches for the hidden nation but finds nothing. T'Challa decides to seek help from Reed Richards. Him and Shuri travel to New York and consult the Fantastic Four. Reed reveals rumors of an underwater civilization in the Atlantic with metal as strong as vibranium. The heroes travel to the ocean, where Namor eventually emerges and becomes captivated by Sue Storm. Namor offers to spare Wakanda if Sue becomes his wife, enraging Reed. After being rejected, Namor attacks and T'Challa fights him alone. Wakanda is devastated in T'Challa's absence, leading to a final confrontation where T'Challa sees his mother has died, but can't find his sister, thinking she is dead too. Namor continues the fight through Wakanda and is about to kill T'Challa. Before the final blow can be dealt, Shuri, armored up in her own Black Panther suit, attacks Namor and captures him along with his generals. T'Challa and the rest of Wakanda mourn the loss of their queen, but their mother as well. The mid-credit scene shows T'Challa sits at a table with Sam Wilson and 6 empty seats. He asks if anyone else is coming, but Sam assures him they are, and they are just late. The post-credit scene shows an alarm going off as a cryo chamber breaks open and a dangerous mutant escapes, wanting to get his revenge on Wolverine. Our next project in the timeline is Deadpool 2, taking place in 2025. Deadpool is devastated after Vanessa's death, feeling purposeless and desperate to join her. Unable to die, he spirals into depression and reckless attempt at self-destruction. Colossus arrives at Deadpool's door, concerned about his emotional state. He offers Deadpool a chance to regain purpose by helping save the world. Deadpool initially refuses, but he owes nothing to the world that took Vanessa. Colossus reveals that the threat they face is targeting Wolverine. This convinces Deadpool to join the mission. At the X-Mansion, they meet Wolverine, Quicksilver, and a new mutant named Domino. Deadpool insists that luck isn't a real power, taking jabs at Domino. The team travels to Russia to stop Omega Red, a failed super soldier experiment. Omega Red believes himself to be a god after the adamantium tentacles altered him. Deadpool undermines Colossus multiple times, causing chaos and disrupting team coordination. A fierce battle erupts between Omega Red and the X-Men, with Wolverine taking the lead. Quicksilver helps but still gets hit despite how fast he is, and even Colossus suffers serious wounds. Wolverine nearly dies before Deadpool intervenes, and Domino blinds Omega Red so they can escape. Back at the mansion, the team scolds Deadpool for his behavior and reviews Omega Red's powers. Deadpool returns home, falls asleep, and dreams of Vanessa, encouraging him to open his heart to teamwork and life beyond her. He goes to apologize only to find the team already headed back to Russia. Determined to help, Deadpool follows them and reconciles with Colossus before joining the final mission. Together, they trap Omega Red in the crowd chamber, kill him, and afterwards offer Deadpool a place at the mansion. But he declines and sets off to discover his new purpose. The mid-credit scene shows a man in some kind of stronghold as he hears the sound of a woman's voice. He looks over at a picture frame to imply that the woman in the picture is his wife. He walks over to a box and opens it up to see 10 metal rings. The post-credit scene shows Natasha Romanoff gets a cryptic message from an unknown person asking her about a man who can copy anyone's fighting style. The message was a cry for help from a man named Mark Spector. Our next project in the timeline is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, taking place in 2026. Shang-Chi, raised by Wenwu, the possessor of the mysterious Ten Rings, grows up with immense strength and immortality granted by those powerful relics. Wenwu had once given up the rings to start a family, but after his wife was killed, he put them back on and never removed them again. Shang-Chi trained in the ways of the Ten Rings, and at 14 is sent to kill the man who murdered his mother. After completing his mission, Shang-Chi moves to America and tries to start a new life, becoming a valet driver with his best friend Katie. One day, a man sent by his father comes after Shang-Chi, demanding that he gives up his pendant. This leads to a fight on a bus where Shang-Chi reveals his martial arts skills to Katie. Although he defeats the attackers, they manage to steal the pendant. Shang-Chi remembers a note from his sister asking him to find her, and heads to China with Katie. They arrive only to discover the note was a trap sent by Wenwu, who wants to take the pendant from Xiaoling. During their encounter, Shang-Chi faces Death Dealer, his former mentor, and is captured by Wenwu, who takes them to his compound. On the way, Wenwu expresses his anger towards Tony Stark, who had promised to reunite Shang-Chi with his father many years ago. Shang-Chi learns that Wenwu believes the people of Ta Lo are holding his wife captive, but Shang-Chi doesn't believe it. This leads to a confrontation, and Wenwu locks Shang-Chi, Katie, and Xiaoling in a dungeon. The trio escapes and follows a map that leads them through a magical bamboo forest to the hidden portal of Ta Lo. There, they meet their aunt, who teaches them the ways of Ta Lo and prepares them for the inevitable showdown with their father. Wenwu arrives in Ta Lo seeking to free his wife, but instead releases a dangerous demon that feeds on life force. Shang-Chi confronts his father in a battle, with both using 5 of the 10 rings. During their fight, the demon breaks free and kills Wenwu. In his final moments, Wenwu passes the rings to Shang-Chi. As the demon threatens the village, a giant dragon, the protector of Ta Lo, appears to fight it off, giving Shang-Chi the opportunity to use the 10 rings to defeat this demon. With the demon vanquished, Shang-Chi and Katie return home, sharing a drink in a bar to mourn the loss of any fallen friends they had along the way. The mid-credit scene shows Shang-Chi stares at a hologram of the 10 rings, learning that they are sending a signal somewhere. Standing in front of him are Wong, Bruce Banner, and Reed Richards. None of them can figure out where they came from or how old they really are. They tell Shang-Chi that if they find anything, they will be in contact with him. The post-credit scene shows Shang-Chi is fighting in what looks like a training room. The person he is fighting against is Black Widow. They have been working on honing their skills while trying to learn more about the 10 rings. Their training is interrupted when a call from the front door goes off to see Mark Spector. Our next project in the timeline is Moon Knight, taking place in 2026. For the last few years, a man named Mark Spector has been the avatar for the god of the moon Khonshu. Due to his tragic past, he tends to black out and wake up somewhere new. This is caused by his split personality, Stephen Grant, who is a more passive man and doesn't care for violence. For the longest time, Mark had trouble keeping his other half from interfering with his work, but he eventually began to work with his other half and became even stronger. Now, Moon Knight faces an even more challenging threat that can copy anyone's fighting style, Taskmaster. He showed up randomly and started hunting Mark, and he wants to copy the fighting style of every strong hero in the world. One day, Mark was caught off guard and was jumped by Taskmaster, but due to his ability to change fighting styles, Moon Knight got away. He does research on who this man is and learned that he had been taken down by Black Widow in the past, so he sends a message out to Natasha Romanoff to see if she can help him, but the response took too long and he decided to go meet her in person. He heads to the Avengers compound and meets the former Red Room assassin. Natasha is shocked to hear that Taskmaster is back because she thought her family took care of him many years ago. She teams up with Moon Knight to try and take Taskmaster down for good, heading out in the city at night jumping from the rooftops. Suddenly, Taskmaster arrives and starts fighting in similar styles that Natasha recognizes. Natasha and Moon Knight are backed into a corner and escape without being seen. They regroup back at the compound to go over the fighting styles Taskmaster currently has. He possesses the different fighting styles of Spider-Man, Daredevil, Black Widow, Black Panther, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Bullseye, and even Gambit. These styles are what help him in any situation, whether it's against many different heroes. Moon Knight understands why he's being targeted now and tells Natasha that at times he feels like he has another personality inside of him, which he thinks can stop Taskmaster. The two go back out into the city to hunt him down. Once they've been found, they go back into battle with Moon Knight switching his fighting styles from Mark Spector to Stephen Grant. However, during battle, Moon Knight takes a heavy hit to the head and passes out. His eyes open up and he goes after Taskmaster in a very aggressive way that is unlike either of the other two personalities. This style overwhelms Taskmaster to the point where he is defeated in battle. Natasha calls in S.H.I.E.L.D. to take Taskmaster prisoner. Natasha asks who he really is. Moon Knight turns around saying, Jake Lockley. He then thanks Natasha for the help, saying that if she ever needs help, she can rely on him to come. The mid-credit scene shows Moon Knight talking with Natasha through a hologram about a mission he is on. Turns out Moon Knight is doing work trying to hunt down an old threat that has had some rumors spreading around. Doctor Doom is planning something that will end the world. The post-credit scene shows a version of Doctor Strange in a weird realm running with a young woman to try and get this magical book that can stop an incoming threat. But that version of Doctor Strange gets killed as the main universe's Doctor Strange wakes up from what seems like a bad dream. Our next project on the timeline is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, taking place in 2026. A mysterious woman named America Chavez arrives in Universe 616, seeking Doctor Strange's help. Steven and Wong are startled that she knows the universe's numerical designation. America reveals she can travel the multiverse and is being hunted for her powers. She explains that a powerful team from another universe seeks to quote-unquote protect the multiverse through immoral methods. Strange, Wong, and America journey to Universe 838 to investigate. There, they meet the Illuminati, a coalition of heroes from that world. Steven asks who leads them, as Professor X replies that they are all equals. Wong wonders why they need America's powers despite having a Sorcerer Supreme on their team. 838 Strange admits America's multiversal abilities surpass his own. Iron Man demands they surrender America so they can build a quote-unquote suit of armor around the multiverse. Steven presses them about what threat they fear so greatly. They reveal that the threat is Kang the Conqueror. Kang has conquered countless other universes and begun waging war across others. Variants of Kang either join him or oppose him, escalating an intermultiversal war. Steven proposes stopping Kang's 838 variant early, but Reed Richards explains Kang hasn't been born yet. Tensions erupt when Namor loses patience and attacks the 616 Sorcerer. Wong teleports himself, Steven, and America across Universe 838, but the Illuminati repeatedly intercept them. America panics and opens a portal, sending herself through multiple universes before returning to 616. Back in the 616 universe, she asks if there's anyone powerful enough to help them, prompting Steven and Wong to consider a risky option. Steven travels to Wanda Maximoff's remote cabin to seek her aid. Wanda, guilt-ridden from past events, hesitates but agrees when Steven assures her they can help her stay in control. Returning to Kamar-Taj, they find the Illuminati arriving to seize America again. A massive battle ensues, during which Wanda realizes the Illuminati are being controlled by an external force. Kang the Conqueror appears to reprimand the Illuminati, sending them through a portal, and leaves the 616 heroes to prepare for his inevitable return. Portal closes, which sends fear down Steven's spine. Steven says they need to go after them, but Wong tells him to have Kang deal with them, and that they should prepare for a plan in case Kang comes back. Wong asks Wanda if she would be willing to help them. She agrees and stays at Kamar-Taj with Wong and America Chavez. The mid-credit scene shows the portal opening up to see the Illuminati being pushed through it in front of the Council of Kangs. With all eyes on them, Kang Prime makes quick work of the hero group and kills every last one of them. Kang looks up at the rest of the council, telling them that Earth 616 is the prime target for battle, and that they must take control of it. The post-credit scene shows Doctor Strange is walking down the road to hear a woman's voice asking if he is Doctor Strange. She walks up to Steven and claims that he caused an incursion and that she needs his help to fix it. Our next project in the timeline is Ant-Man Quantumania, taking place in 2027. Hank Pym has spent 3 years studying the quantum realm in hopes of rescuing Janet. Despite his efforts, he cannot find a way to bring her back without damaging the timeline. Reed Richards, Bruce Banner, and even Doctor Strange all warn him about the scientific and multiversal threats this could pose. Hank becomes so consumed by his work that he neglects his daughter Hope. This neglect breaks the promise he made to Janet before she was lost. One night, a strange bright light suddenly bursts inside his lab. Hank is pulled into the light and loses consciousness. He awakens inside a mysterious prison structure. A figure emerges from the shadows and introduces himself as Kang the Conqueror. Kang explains that Hank's signal reached the quantum realm, attracting his attention. Hank demands to know how he ended up there. Kang reveals he was banished to the quantum realm by the Council of Kangs. He insists that only Hank can help him escape. A door opens and Kang frees Hank from the cell. Kang shows him visions of the multiverse collapsing under attacks from other Kang variants. He explains that Universe 616 is his home and he wants to protect it. Kang offers Hank a deal. Help him repair his time chair and he will let Hank save Janet. Desperate to fix his past, Hank agrees. As they work together, Hank learns that Kang's real name is Nathaniel Richards, a descendant of Reed Richards. The two develop a reluctant friendship while repairing the device. Once the chair is fixed, Nathaniel reveals his true goal: to continue conquering the multiverse. He betrays Hank and attacks him. Hank tries to stop him by stealing and shrinking the chair's power source, but Kang regains it after injuring him. Near death, Hank sees a vision of Janet telling him to let her go and be a better father to Hope. With renewed resolve, Hank destroys Kang's time chair, seemingly killing him, but becomes trapped in the quantum realm himself. The mid-credit scene shows back at the Baxter building, a device on Reed Richards' monitor is going off. It's a signal that is coming from the quantum realm. It seems to be some kind of energy reading, almost like it was an explosion. This gets the attention of Reed as he tells the Fantastic Four to get ready to journey down to the quantum realm. The post-credit scene shows the Council of Kangs as they talk about how a variant of Kang has been killed. Kang Prime steps out from the darkness as he looks on at the multiverse and smiles as he sees how the only other Kang that could have surpassed him was dead, and now they can begin the enslavement of the multiverse. So everything you guys have seen so far in this phase of my multiverse saga is either things that relate to my storytelling that I've spread throughout the first 4 sagas, or a little bit of what I kind of wanted to happen. But this next project in the multiverse saga is one specifically that I came up with because of the past X-Men projects that I had scripted and storied out in the past videos. Our next project in the timeline is X-Men: Sins of Sinister, taking place in 2027. Following the events of Dark Phoenix, the mutant population begins to grow and stabilize again. Jean Grey's death still weighs heavily on Scott Summers and Logan. Logan uses alcohol to numb the memories of losing her. Scott, in contrast, throws himself fully into training to prevent future losses. 5 years earlier, the X-Men accepted Emma Frost as a new member. Emma, who is also a telepath, gradually grew close to Scott. Their bond deepened until they became a romantic couple. One day, while Scott is training, he feels a sudden wave of nausea and dread. A knock at the mansion door interrupts his routine. Standing outside is a young woman with red hair who looks like Jean Grey. Scott is stunned, believing his mind is deceiving him. Jean approaches him calmly, touches his hand, and speaks to him telepathically. Realizing this is truly Jean, Scott is overwhelmed with emotions. Beast and Storm witness her return and immediately escort her to the labs. Blood tests confirm that the woman really is Jean Grey. Jean recounts waking up in a dark room after her Phoenix-driven rampage, eventually escaping captivity. Scott points out she appears younger than when she died, adding to the mystery. Beast theorizes that if the Phoenix revived her, it may have restored her body to its strongest form. Scott asks the team to keep Jean's return a secret for now. Back in his room, Scott struggles to process seeing her again, as Jean tries to act as though nothing has changed, creating tension between them. Scott's emotional turmoil causes him to push her away. When Logan arrives at the mansion, he instantly recognizes Jean's scent. Shocked, he searches for her and eventually finds her. Jean explains everything to Logan, and word spreads through the mansion quickly. Jean telepathically addresses the X-Men, insisting she is the same Jean and no longer bound by the Phoenix Force. Storm and Beast accept her first, followed slowly by the others. Scott, however, remains distant and conflicted. Jean approaches him again, but Emma Frost appears, coldly telling Jean she has been replaced. Hurt and furious, Jean lashes out, flees the mansion. Logan follows her into the woods where Jean collapses in tears. Her anguish suddenly twists into manic laughter as a red diamond forms on her forehead. She uses her powers to swiftly knock Logan unconscious. Mr. Sinister emerges from the forest and orders Jean to take Wolverine with them. Scott discovers signs of their disappearance and ventures into the woods searching for them. Mr. Sinister confronts Scott directly and gives him a location to meet if he wants the truth. Scott rushes back and assembles the X-Men for a rescue mission. They arrive at an island housing Mr. Sinister's secret laboratory. Inside, they find Jean and Logan restrained, prompting Scott to approach her. Jean awakens and violently attacks the team, controlled by Mr. Sinister. Jubilee attempts to reach Jean emotionally, but memories aren't enough to break Sinister's influence. Sinister captures the X-Men, leaving only Cyclops free. Sinister reveals that this Jean is a clone created from preserved DNA after her death. He had expected her to be fully restored, but found her younger and incomplete compared to the original. Heartbroken and furious, Scott unleashes his optic blast in rage. Jean shields Sinister as she is still under his mind control. Scott breaks through and speaks to Jean, appealing to her true self. With a precise blast, he destroys the red diamond controlling her mind. The X-Men are freed, but Sinister escapes, vowing to continue his experiments to create the perfect mutant. Back at the mansion, Logan departs for a bar to drown the chaos of the day. Jean questions whether she still belongs at the mansion. Scott assures her that she will always have a place there. But then Jean asks where she fits into Scott's life now. He cannot give her a definitive answer. Seeing Emma, Jean decides Scott should stay with her for now. Jean leaves the mansion to search for her own identity and purpose in a world that has moved on without her. The mid-credit scene shows Scott calling Jubilee to the principal's office. She wonders if she is in trouble, but Scott tells her the opposite. He tells her that with all the missions she has been on and work she has put into the X-Men, he wants her to make her own team of X-Men. She is happy for the offer and asks if this is about Mr. Sinister. Scott says yes, and that he wants her new team to work on hunting down Mr. Sinister. The post-credit scene shows Captain Marvel is flying through space as she comes in contact with Nova. He tells her that the Skrulls have invaded Xandar and are heading back to the planet, where they call home. Captain Marvel asks what the planet he's going to so she can join them. He says, it's Earth. Our next project in Phase 5 is Captain Marvel Secret Invasion, taking place in 2027. Captain Marvel has been secretly working with S.H.I.E.L.D. when she receives an urgent call from Nick Fury. Fury tells her that Nova has reached out requesting for help. Carol flies out into space and finds Nova accompanied by a fleet of Nova Corps ships. Nova reveals that the Skrulls have invaded Xandar and tracked their people to the planet they've lived on for the last couple years. When Carol asks which planet, Nova shockingly answers Earth. Carol learns the Skrulls have been disguising themselves as humans on Earth for the last couple years. Carol and Nova return to SWORD, a SHIELD-based space station, to discuss the hidden Skrull infiltration. Fury calculates the Skrulls arrived during the blip when Earth's heroes and mutants were at their weakest. He also informs Carol about a mysterious cosmic bangle found by a young woman in New Jersey. Carol travels to New Jersey and meets Kamala Khan, a huge fan of hers. Their conversation is interrupted when Nova appears and suddenly attacks Carol. Carol and Kamala fight back, and Kamala impresses Carol with her powers. Carol discovers the attacker isn't Nova, but a Skrull imposter working for the Super Skrull. They take the captured Skrull to SWORD, where Fury interrogates him, and Carol begins training Kamala. Fury learns that the Super Skrull possesses powers similar to the Fantastic Four. The Super Skrull invades SWORD and demands Kamala's bangle. Overpowering the heroes, he captures Kamala and reveals his plan to use the two bangles to relocate Earth's resources to rebuild the Skrull homeworld. Carol, Fury, and the real Nova rescue Kamala, but the Super Skrull escapes with both bangles. The Skrull overloads himself, creating a massive jump gate, and dies, leaving Kamala and Carol to stabilize it using the divided power of two bangles. Afterwards, S.H.I.E.L.D. identifies a million hidden Skrulls and safely relocates them, while Carol and Nova help rebuild Xandar, and Kamala heads to the X-Mansion to explore her mutant abilities. The mid-credit scene shows Kamala is being scouted by Jubilee to be a member of her new X-Men team, while the post-credit scene shows Captain Marvel showing up back at the Avengers compound to talk with Sam Wilson about the rumor of Doctor Doom. Our next story in the timeline is Guardians of the Galaxy 3, taking place in 2028. Rocket Raccoon is being hunted down by the High Evolutionary, the man who tortured Rocket as a baby and did experiments on him. He has been fascinated with his intelligence for years and has created many different types of species throughout the galaxy in hopes of creating the perfect life form. We learn about the backstory with Rocket and some of the other animals that were experimented on and how they were all killed when they were trying to escape. Back in the present, we see the Guardians of the Galaxy have bought the Celestial Skull Nowhere and use it as a base of operations. Peter Quill has fallen to drinking from mourning the loss of Gamora and that her past self is living in this timeline but doesn't remember anything that the space group went through. Suddenly, Rocket is attacked by a man named Adam Warlock, who is a member of the Sovereign, another race that was created by the High Evolutionary. Adam is a strong being who has a very philosophical way of thinking about life in the universe. He kidnaps Rocket and takes him back to the High Evolutionary. The group get on their ship and head out into space. Along the way, they meet up with Gamora, who has now joined the Ravagers. Gamora agrees to work with the Guardians for money in hopes of convincing her to join the Guardians again. Rocket wakes up from the attack to see the High Evolutionary and Adam Warlock. He tells Rocket that he will be a part of a bigger universe where the perfect being will take over. Rocket wonders why he needs his brain since he created Rocket. Adam, overhearing this, agrees with Rocket and begins to have a philosophical discussion about what makes something or someone perfect. The Guardians make their way towards the High Evolutionary, and along the way he tries to reconnect with Gamora, only to her, this is her first time meeting him. Even Nebula jumps in trying to help her see that joining the Guardians can change someone, including her. Eventually they make it to the High Evolutionary ship and break inside of it. The group work together, and along the way they encounter Adam Warlock again. He tells them that he is not here to fight them, for he has found a new understanding and wants to help them save Rocket. Suddenly, the trapdoors crash down from the ceiling as the High Evolutionary has trapped them. Adam Warlock and Drax break through the doors as they see failed experimental animal warriors on the other side sent to kill the Guardians. Peter leads the charge as they destroy all the warriors and make their way to Rocket. As surgery is about to begin, Peter attacks the High Evolutionary with the rest of the Guardians, Gamora, and Adam Warlock following. The High Evolutionary is still breathing as Groot hands Rocket a gun and kills the High Evolutionary. Rocket tells them that they need to save anyone still on the ship. They find young children that were being tested on, along with tons of animals. After saving every soul on the ship, The Guardians regroup back at nowhere as Peter tells Rocket he thinks it's time to head home back to Earth and that he wants Rocket to lead a new Guardians team. Mantis decides to go her own separate way to find her purpose, while Adam Warlock stays back on Nowhere with the rest of the Guardians to help teach the young children. Gamora ends up heading back to the Ravagers to start a new chapter in the past. The mid-credit scene shows Peter landing back on Earth, and the first person he can think of to go see is if his grandfather is still alive. He finds his house and reconnects with his grandfather once again. Their conversation is interrupted though when Nick Fury arrives at the house asking if Peter would like to work at SWORD and still help protect the world. The post-credit scene shows a strange white warrior is attacking a god using the power of an ancient sword. He makes a claim that there should be no more gods as he begins his quest to butcher them all. Our final project in Phase 5 to kick off the multiverse is Thor Way of Gods, taking place in 2028. Thor has reached his full power when it comes to using his lightning powers and wielding his king's weapon Stormbreaker. He has been running New Asgard on Earth peacefully and successfully for the last 4 years. One day he gets an invite to a meeting with other gods about an issue that seems to be involving their kind. Thor learns about a man named Gorr the God Butcherer who has possession of the Necro Sword, an all-black weapon that has the power of taking out the gods. His goal is to eliminate all gods in this universe. Thor is tasked by Zeus to take down this butcherer and asks for his son Hercules to accompany him. The two gods head out on an adventure to slay the God Butcherer. Along the way, they meet another Asgardian who once worked for Odin as a Valkyrie, a female warrior that would ride on Pegasus into battle. She had been tasked with taking out Hela many centuries ago, but was the only one to make it out alive. She had gone into hiding and lived her own life. When she heard about how Gorr could come for her because she is part of the Asgardians and Norse mythology, she agrees to join up with the group and hunt down Gorr. Traveling from planet to planet, they find a trail of dead bodies from many different gods. Eventually, they get a lead on Gorr's location and make their way to Rapu, the home world of Gorr. All color from this planet has faded, and all that remains is death. Gorr makes his appearance and is glad to see that his name has been spread throughout the gods as they now have started coming to his homeworld to die. Hercules yells at Gorr saying he won't be killing any more gods today. Gorr explains to Hercules that he wants to kill his father the most, since his kind doesn't seem to care about mortals and their issues. Thor steps in and suggests otherwise, since he has stepped in mortal affairs many times helping out his friends, the Avengers. Gorr asks Thor if the world is truly safe for helping out mortals. Thor struggles to say yes, since there's always some kind of new threat that shows up. Gorr also points out that he still protects other gods since he is working with them to kill Gorr. Thor uses his lightning powers and attacks Gorr, but it gets deflected. Hercules joins in along with Valkyrie for a combined attack. Gorr is able to stop them all and add another member to his list by killing Valkyrie. Thor gets angry and goes in for another attack, but Gorr is able to slip into the shadows and evade this. Thor takes his friends using the Bifrost back to Zeus to ask for help. Zeus turns him down, saying he has better things to do. Thor and Hercules get angry with Zeus because of their lost friend. Zeus tells his son to leave this issue to Thor, for he knows about running around stopping villains. Hercules goes against his father's wishes and goes with Thor to try and kill Gorr. Zeus then banishes Hercules from Olympia and to never return for this disrespect. Thor comes up with a plan. If they can destroy the sword, maybe they can stop him, for he would be weakened. They head back to Rapu, but Gorr is nowhere to be found. Thor thinks of another place Gorr would have gone. We see Gorr arriving at New Asgard during the late hours of night, about to kill everyone. Thor quickly makes his way towards Earth, and a final battle takes place. Hercules is able to destroy the Necro Sword, which allows Thor to land a devastating blow to Gorr, killing him in the process. Thor's final words to Gorr are, "Some gods may be selfish, but those who reach out to mortals learn there is more to life than just being a god." Gorr passes away into the shadows. Hercules decides to stay on New Asgard since he's been banished. As Thor mourns the loss of another friend, he feels like he must do more, not just for his people, but for the people of Earth as well. The mid-credit scene shows Sam Wilson gets in contact with Thor, asking if he wants to join his new Avengers team, with Thor agreeing, wondering why they need him. Sam says Earth is on course for an incursion. The post-credit scene shows Thor looking up at the sky as a green Terran reality opens to see Loki asking for his brother. Phase 6 of the Multiverse saga will have 9 movies and 2 TV shows. Starting off, our first movie is Fantastic Four: The Kang Dynasty in 2028. The Fantastic Four prepare to enter the quantum realm to rescue Hank Pym. During their descent, a malfunction sends them through a portal to the 31st century instead. Reed Richards realizes that they are in the future and must find a way back to continue their mission. Their quantum tunnel device is damaged by a power overload, leaving them stranded. While searching for help, they encounter a man named Nathaniel Richards. The team is stunned to learn he is a descendant of Reed and Sue. Nathaniel agrees to help repair their technology and takes them to his lab. Sue explains that the device is meant to save a friend trapped in the quantum realm. Reed is fascinated by the advanced future technology surrounding them. Nathaniel realizes the quantum device brought his ancestors to the future and considers using it for other purposes, combining quantum science with future tech. Nathaniel secretly creates a doorway to an alternate universe. The Fantastic Four successfully return to the quantum realm and continue their mission. After they leave, Nathaniel meets another variant of himself, triggering a dangerous multiversal fracture. In the quantum realm, the team finds Kang's building and reunites with Hank Pym. Hank is alarmed when he hears the name Nathaniel Richards and reveals that he is the one who trapped him here. Hank convinces the team to take him back to the 31st century to stop Kang. Back in the future, they discover a city ruled by Kang, marked by a massive statue. Kang admits to conquering the world and planning to invade other universes using quantum tunneling. When Hank attacks, Kang easily defeats him. Sue attempts to reason with Kang, but he coldly dismisses her. Kang spares the Fantastic Four, fearing their deaths would disrupt his own timeline. The team mentions this Kang differs from earlier variants due to missing facial scars. Kang leaves through a portal, shaken by the implications of other versions of himself. Back at the Baxter Building, Hank and Reed realize Kang is off the grid, and Hank declares that they will need everyone to prepare for the coming war. The mid-credit scene shows Kang arrives at a place that looks similar to the stadium we saw back in the Multiverse of Madness. Kang declares that this will be his standing ground where variants of himself can come and rule over the multiverse. The post-credit scene shows a shadowy figure looms in the darkness as a green light flickers over a metal mask. Our next project in the Multiverse saga is probably one of my favorites. Spider-Man: Kraven's Last Hunt, taking place in 2029. Peter Parker balances being Spider-Man with 2 jobs at the Daily Bugle and Parker Industries. At the Bugle, he competes with photographer Eddie Brock, while at his company he works alongside reformed scientist Dr. Kurt Connors. After returning from the blip, Peter hunted down emerging villains like Shocker, Mysterio, Black Cat, and the Lizard. He learns the Lizard was Dr. Connors, an Oscorp scientist trying to regrow his lost arm. Feeling sympathy, Peter suppresses the Lizard DNA, frees Connor from the raft, and vows to prevent another disaster. Years later, a spider at Parker Industries bites teenager Miles Morales during a field trip. Miles gains Spider-Man's powers plus invisibility and bioelectric venom blasts. Peter tracks Miles down and trains him for 4 years to eventually take over as Spider-Man. Meanwhile, Kraven the Hunter searches for worthy prey and targets New York City. Kraven studies its villains and becomes obsessed with recreating the Lizard. One night, Miles babysits Peter and MJ's daughter, Mayday, while the couple enjoys a romantic date. A meteor crashes nearby, releasing a black ooze that secretly bonds to Peter's clothes. The next day, Peter and Miles discover a hidden hunter outpost run by Kraven's men. Miles learns that they are recreating the Lizard serum, but Kraven attacks before they can escape. Peter is nearly killed until Miles saves him, making Kraven see the Spider-Man as future prey. Back at the Bugle, Eddie Brock publishes misleading photos portraying Spider-Man as a failure against Kraven. The false news adds to Peter's growing stress and emotional burden. Miles soon reveals that Kraven has captured Dr. Connors. The Spider-Men infiltrate an abandoned zoo where Connors is imprisoned. Kraven injects Connors with the serum, unleashing a stronger lizard and gravely stabbing Peter. A black and white suit forms around Peter, healing his wounds and shocking everyone. Peter and Miles later battle the enhanced lizard in the sewers, but are forced to retreat. They create a new serum at Parker Industries to eliminate lizard DNA completely. Downtown, Miles injects the serum into the lizard, restoring Connors to human form. Kraven attempts to kill Miles, but Peter stops him and throws him from a helicopter. An intense final fight shows Peter becoming more brutal under the suit's influence. Miles intervenes and reminds Peter that heroes do not kill. Kraven is arrested, and Connors willingly returns to the raft out of guilt. Peter exposes the truth at the Daily Bugle, proving Eddie wrong, and gets fired. The story ends with Peter sleeping as the black and white suit continues to change, hinting at darker consequences. The mid-credit scene shows Spider-Man swinging through the city as he sees the Defenders on the news about being put in prison for being vigilantes, with Kingpin looking into the camera telling Spider-Man would be next. The post-credit scene shows Jubilee is about to make a speech for her new team of X-Men mutants. We only see Jubilee speaking and only see the back of the team's heads as they are about to go after and capture Mr. Sinister. Our next project in Phase 6 is the first TV show of the series, X-Men New Mutants, taking place in 2029. After the events of Sins of Sinister, Jubilee is tasked with forming her own team to hunt down and capture Mr. Sinister. She already has 2 people in mind, including a new mutant student named Miss Marvel, who is happy to help. With Charles Xavier dead, Jubilee asks Emma Frost to help locate additional mutants. Emma helps her identify 5 potential recruits. The first mutant Jubilee seeks out is Jean Grey, a clone created by Mr. Sinister, who is searching for her new purpose. Jubilee believes Jean could serve as a co-leader and inspire the team, just like she did. Jean agrees to help, especially if it means stopping Sinister. Next, they recruit Kitty Pryde, who is training at the mansion alongside her small purple dragon. Kitty joins because the mission supports the X-Men and wants to help people. Morph also volunteers, wanting to help students and newer team members. While searching for more recruits, Mr. Sinister attacks and attempts to capture Jean Grey. The team struggles with poor coordination and realize they are not strong enough yet to defeat him. Jean disrupts Sinister's mind, allowing Jubilee to blind him and escape. Retreating back to the mansion to rethink their strategy, another signal leads them to twin brothers Billy and Tommy Maximoff in the city. The twins possess powers similar to the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Tommy eagerly wants to be a hero while Billy fears using his powers. Tommy convinces Billy to join the team, realizing they could use their abilities for something greater. Back at the mansion, the expanded team trains and learns to combine their powers. Jean tracks Mr. Sinister to a mysterious cabin in the woods. There, they encounter Laura, also known as X-23, who is being controlled by Sinister. Jean destroys the red diamond on Laura's forehead, freeing her and gaining her help. The team confronts Sinister, revealing an illusion created by Jean and Wiccan that leaves him vulnerable to Laura's claws that stabbed through Mr. Sinister. Although Laura wants to kill him, Miss Marvel insists the X-Men do not kill, and Sinister is restrained. Mr. Sinister is sent to prison, the team is made an official X-Men squad, and they are celebrated as heroes at the mansion. The mid-credit scene shows the party going on at the mansion, with Laura meeting Logan for the first time, both releasing their claws with a grin. The post-credit scene shows Mr. Sinister sits in a cell at S.H.I.E.L.D. as a bright light shines from the outside, almost as if the Earth was engulfed by emptiness. A voice can be heard from outside the cell asking if Mr. Sinister wants to get his revenge on the X-Men. As the wall of his cell erases, the voice continues saying,
"If you want your revenge, walk out into the void and I'll help you get it."
Our next project in Phase 6 is one I'm honestly hoping you guys will like. Captain America: Brave New World, taking place in 2029. The new president, Thunderbolt Ross, meets Sam Wilson and Natasha Romanoff at the Avengers compound to discuss restarting the Avengers. Sam doubts he is ready, but Natasha believes the world needs hope again after rising global threats. They agree and send out summons to heroes including Captain Marvel, Shang-Chi, Black Panther, War Machine, Hulk, and Hawkeye. The heroes gather, noting Clint Barton's absence due to his retirement and training of Kate Bishop. Sam explains the team was formed by presidential orders and that they are expected at the White House. Bruce Banner questions why the Avengers are needed again, and Natasha says this is their chance to restore hope after Thanos. At the White House, Ross announces the new Avengers to the public. During the ceremony, Bruce hears a high-pitched sound that triggers him to transform into the Savage Hulk once again. Hulk goes on a rampage, forcing the new Avengers into their first mission together to subdue him. After Hulk reverts to Bruce Banner, the team realizes President Ross has vanished. Back at the compound, Bruce explains he heard some sound before blacking out. Natasha asks who might target him, and Bruce names Samuel Stearns, also known as the Leader. Ross awakens, captured by the Leader, who injects him with gamma radiation. Bruce builds a gamma tracker and detects a massive energy surge. The Avengers investigate an abandoned military compound while Bruce stays behind to avoid another trigger. Sam Wilson and T'Challa confront the Leader, who reveals his plan for revenge against Ross. Stearns explains Ross betrayed him after using his research, leading him to retaliate. The Leader shows footage of Ross transforming into the Red Hulk at the White House. As Red Hulk begins destroying the White House, the Avengers capture Stearns and rush to stop Ross. Bruce learns the truth and is encouraged by Sam to embrace the Hulk as a force of good. At the burning White House, Bruce confronts Red Hulk and is knocked aside. Bruce finally transforms into the Hulk and joins the battle. Despite the team's efforts, Red Hulk ends up killing Rhodey, devastating the Avengers. Fueled by controlled anger, Hulk and Sam work together to defeat Red Hulk and send him to the raft. The story ends with the Avengers mourning Rhodey while honoring War Machine back at the compound. The mid-credit scene has Bruce showing up at the raft to have a conversation with Ross. He tells him that he wants to try and help control the beasts inside. Ross questions why Bruce would want to help him. Bruce tells him if he can't learn to control this version of the Hulk, then he would be nothing but a ticking time bomb. Ross agrees to listen to Bruce and learns how to control the Red Hulk. The post-credit scene shows Valentina working in a lab as she oversees her new project that she is working on called the Century Project. Our next project in this story is the Thunderbolts, taking place in 2029. Yelena is depressed and purposeless after the fall of the Red Room and feels overshadowed by her Avenger sister. Instead of turning to Natasha, she joins Valentina, who promises meaningful work helping people. Years later, Valentina is put on trial for illegal human experimentation aimed at creating a superhero to seize power. During this time, Yelena is sent to stop a break-in at one of Val's strongholds. Inside, she discovers lab equipment and files before being attacked by John Walker. As they fight, a screech announces Songbird, who joins the battle against John. John crashes into a chamber that awakens a confused man named Robert Reynolds, otherwise known as Bob. Yelena tries to stop the fighting to understand what is happening. The stronghold locks down and overheats as danger closes in. Bob's powers activate, revealing him as Sentry, who saves them before reverting back. Bob's troubled past and struggle with depression are revealed in this moment. John recognizes the Sentry program as one of Val's superhuman projects and grows worried. Val sends forces to capture Bob, and the military successfully takes him to the Watchtower. Unsure where to turn next, the group seeks help from Yelena's adopted father, Red Guardian. Although he knows very little, Red Guardian shares what he can about super soldier experiments. John ends up recruiting Bucky Barnes, who set aside old conflicts to help stop Val and save Bob. At the Watchtower, Val manipulates Bob and fully unleashes Sentry under her control. Forced to fight his friends, Sentry resists and confronts Val for using him. When Sentry nearly kills her, Val activates a kill switch and kills him instead. As Sentry's body lays on the ground, darkness spreads as he is reborn as the Void. The Void engulfs New York, tempting Yelena with emptiness and despair. Yelena enters the Void and relives painful Red Room memories before finding Bob. Eventually, the team comes in and helps them confront Bob's trauma and the Void itself. Yelena's compassion helps Bob reject the darkness and escape with the others. Val reframes the disaster as the formation of a new team and names them the Thunderbolts. The mid-credits scene has Wilson Fisk standing at a podium as he has taken over as mayor of New York City and is planning to put together a team of police officers that will take down any vigilantes in the cities, talking about how he doesn't need a man with a skull on his chest, or a man dressed like a spider, or a man with devil horns to protect this city. The post-credit scene shows Wong has been monitoring the multiverse and notices that something has happened to their universe that has it on a path for an incursion. Our next project of Phase 6 is Daredevil Devil's Reign, taking place in 2030. Wilson Fisk has served his time in prison and has, quote-unquote, reformed. Over the last few years, he was running for mayor in New York and recently won the election. He has enacted a new rule when it comes to vigilantes doing work in the city. Characters like Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, Punisher, and Daredevil have been hunted and attacked for the type of work they do. Due to the type of power Kingpin has over the city and its citizens, the Defenders haven't been able to stop him. Crime in the city has increased dramatically, yet because Kingpin has control over the crime and police, he can manage how much damage comes in and out of the city, while getting richer and richer from all the damage. Daredevil has finally come up with a plan to take down Kingpin for good. Punisher thinks they should just kill Fisk, but Jessica points out that if they do that, they would just be proving Fisk right. Regardless, the Defenders sneak out into Fisk Tower and take down as many of his guards as possible. Daredevil and Iron Fist confront Wilson and are about to attack him. That is when he calls in his new leader of the Vigilante Task Force, Taskmaster. Taskmaster takes down Iron Fist, then moves on to Daredevil. The rest of the group catches up with Daredevil, but Taskmaster is able to take them down as well. Wilson looks down at the Defenders as they struggle to stand up. He has them arrested and thrown in prison. Fisk is glad he was able to get this group put behind bars, but now he just needs one more person, Spider-Man. Fisk makes a public announcement that the Defenders have been captured and put in prison, trying to prove a point to any other vigilantes out there. Peter sees the broadcast and swings to the city to try and rescue them. As the Defenders sit in a cell, Spider-Man breaks through a wall and escapes with the vigilantes. Regrouping back at their hideout, Spider-Man kind of agrees with Punisher when it comes to killing Kingpin, but Jessica thinks she is close to finding all the evidence she would need to put Kingpin behind bars for the rest of his life. She just needs some more time. Daredevil senses something wrong with Peter, asking him if he got a new suit. Peter says yes, telling him that he feels like it makes him a better version of himself. Eventually, Peter grows tired of waiting and goes out to take down Kingpin. Jessica finally gathers everything she needs, but the rest of the group has gone after Spider-Man. Spider-Man breaks into Fisk Tower and quickly takes care of Taskmaster. Peter walks towards Kingpin and webs him up. He is about to punch him and almost kill him. Luke Cage steps in, stopping the punch while Iron Fist punches Peter, sending him flying. Daredevil knocks out Fisk as they look on at Spider-Man as his suit has changed, making him angrier and more aggressive. Daredevil can sense that his suit is causing Peter's personality change and tells the Defenders to take down Spider-Man, but not kill him, and that they need to get the suit off. An epic fight breaks out between Spider-Man and the Defenders. Daredevil notices that high-pitched noises are able to damage Peter as the fight takes them outside into the city. Eventually, Peter is able to get the black and white suit off of him as it slithers away into the sewers. Peter apologizes to the Defenders as we see the information that Jessica found releasing to the public as Kingpin is arrested and sent to jail for the rest of his life. The mid-credit scene shows Eddie Brock is walking through the city as he notices the news about Kingpin being thrown in jail. During this walk, the symbiote attaches itself to Eddie and gives birth to the creation of Venom. The post-credit scene has Spider-Man showing up at the Avengers compound after being summoned by Natasha as they talk about a new threat to not just the world, but the multiverse. Our next project in Phase 6 is Doctor Strange Time Runs Out, taking place in 2030. Doctor Strange and Clea return from the Dark Dimension after attempting to stop several incursions across the multiverse. Although they believe they had succeeded, Wong reveals at the New York Sanctum that the multiverse is still breaking apart. Wong has been monitoring reality and confirms that timelines continue to collapse. Realizing their failure, Strange, Clea, and Wong set out once more into the multiverse. Their journey leads them to a desolated wasteland filled with the remains of destroyed worlds. Everything around them appears dead, frozen, and abandoned. Clea identifies this place as the Void, a realm that exists near the end of time. In the Void, time does not move forward in any normal way. As they travel, they discover strange objects and ruins that suggest others have passed through long before them. These signs raise questions: who else has survived the multiversal collapse? Eventually, they encounter a massive castle standing alone in the emptiness. The structure looks ancient, powerful, and completely out of place. Cautiously, they enter the castle to investigate. Inside, they are shocked to find Doctor Doom as he demands to know their identities and their purpose in the Void. Strange introduces himself and asks Doom how he came to be trapped here. Doom explains that after his defeat by the Fantastic Four, he sought greater power and knowledge. His search led him to a doorway into the Void, but once inside, he could not escape. Doom spent years studying the Void and mastering the mystic arts. He also learned that time behaved differently in the Void because it has already ended. Doom continues to question why the sorcerers are traveling throughout the multiverse. Wong explains that they are trying to prevent the destruction of reality itself. Doom reveals that from his castle, he can observe the multiverse and see its weaknesses. He declares his desire to rule the multiverse by encasing it in a suit of armor to protect it. Wong warns him that timelines are shattering and disappearing. Doom explains that fixing a timeline requires directly entering it and stopping the cause of its collapse. He helps them access a dying universe where Kang the Conqueror is present. Kang is preparing to leave that universe when he encounters the sorcerers and Doom. Kang wonders if they have come to stop him. Before Strange can even speak, Doom teleports himself and Kang back to the Void. Strange, Clea, and Wong are left behind in the dying universe. Doom confronts Kang about his actions across the multiverse. Kang claims he destroys timelines that deserve to die and oppose any universe that resists him. Doom declares that he intends to rule the multiverse to protect it from threats like Kang. Kang dismisses Doom's ambition and leaves to continue his war with his variants. Back at Camartage, America Chavez rescues the sorcerers by punching a hole through space-time. Strange regrets not confronting Kang sooner and warns that a massive war is approaching their universe. Eventually, Doom tracks Kang down and launches a brutal attack. An epic battle unfolds, and Doom nearly kills Kang. Suddenly, Kang Prime appears and kills his variant. Doom is left stunned and confused. Kang Prime warns Doom that he is not ready for what is coming. He reveals that his multiversal war is already spreading and moving towards Earth 616. Kang Prime returns to his council to prepare for the coming invasion. The mid-credits scene shows Doctor Strange heading to the Avengers compound to warn them about Doctor Doom. The post-credits scene shows back at the Void, Doctor Doom views the multiverse and sees that another Earth is only days away from colliding with the 616 universe. He sets up his doomsday clock and heads out of his castle. Alright folks, it's time for the big one. This is probably going to be the second longest project in this entire episode. Avengers Doomsday. Taking place in 2030. Kang Prime is giving a speech to the Council of Kangs. He speaks to them, declaring their rule over the multiverse as a flash of green energy emerges. Doctor Doom begins to strike down multiple variants of Kang and uses his magic to absorb their powers. He kills all of them except for one, Kang Prime. Kang, realizing that he can't stop Doom, he chooses to join him, waiting for the right moment to strike and betray him. Kang tells him that in order to reshape the multiverse, they need to head to the one that currently protects it, Loki. A variant of Loki took over the multiverse and now holds everything together, so they plan to attack Loki and take over his throne. But before they can go, Kang tells Doom that he has something on the 616 timeline that he needs to retrieve, something that he lost in a crater. We zoom out of the council into the Yggdrasil tree, where we see Loki viewing the conversation that's happening between these two titans of power. Loki casts an illusion of himself and has him go onto the timeline to assemble the heroes. We cut to New Asgard, where we see Thor looking off over a cliff, thinking about his purpose in life and role as a king. Thor looks up and sees Loki calling out to him. The brothers reunite at last, with Loki telling him,
I told you the sun would shine on us again, brother.
Thor asks how he's here, with Loki responding to him.
It's a long story.
We head to the Avengers compound where we see Earth's mightiest heroes. Sam Wilson and T'Challa are talking to the Avengers about some of the threats they have stopped over the last few years, like Baron Zemo, helping the X-Men capture Mystique and Juggernaut, Crossbones, Titania, Silver Samurai, and Baron Stryker. A portal opens as Doctor Strange shows up, telling them about Doctor Doom teaming up with Kang. He tells them that Doom has a castle in a place called the Void that's close to the end of time. Hank jumps in and tells them about Kang and his powers, how he has an army of countless variants of himself. Suddenly, Shang-Chi's 10 rings begin to glow as Strange looks up in shock. Above the compound, we see a rift in the sky as Kang the Conqueror floats down to the ground. Leaving the compound, the Avengers look up, getting into battle stances as Kate Bishop aims an arrow, Bruce transforms into Hulk, and Captain Marvel's fists begin to glow. Kang looks at them, asking if they know where his 10 rings are. Shang-Chi holds up his arm, revealing the 10 rings. Kang smiles and asks him to hand them over. Shang-Chi lowers his arm and asks what they are. Kang humors them by telling them they were some of his first weapons he ever created and lost them on a trip through time. Kang begins to walk closer to them as the rings tighten up around Shang-Chi. As he feels this, he says, I don't think these rings want to be handled by you. Kang begins to get angry and asks one more time to hand the rings over. Sam throws his shield as the Avengers begin their attack. Kang sets up a shield and releases it, sending them flying. Hulk jumps in, slamming his fist on Kang as he feels nothing and tosses him aside. Captain Marvel fires energy blasts at him as Kang redirects it back at her. Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Black Panther try to hold him down as Kang screams and blasts him off. He walks over to Shang-Chi as they fight hand-to-hand, with Shang-Chi having the upper hand at first. Kang eventually stops holding back and almost kills Shang-Chi by hitting his vital points. Kang is about to attack as Thor throws Stormbreaker, but Kang puts up another shield. Thor lands and begins fighting Kang as Loki shows up, bringing the Avengers back to the TVA. Loki tells Thor to hurry up as he jumps to the portal. Kang screams in anger as he destroys the Avengers compound. Loki explains to them what the TVA is and what's happening to their universe. Strange asks Loki if their universe is in danger because of the Kang variants. Loki tells him that the 616 universe is about to have an incursion with the 292 universe. Loki tells them that the only way to save their universe is to go over to the other universe and destroy it before they collide. The Avengers are conflicted. On the one hand, they want to save their world, but they don't want to kill billions to do it. Hank wonders if Loki is up to something, but Thor steps up and believes his brother is telling the truth. Mobius shows up, shocked to see Loki as they share a nice reunion. That's when an alarm goes off as we see another attack happening on the 616 timeline. Back on Earth, we see the Fantastic Four trying to fight off Kang. Loki opens a doorway to the Baxter building as the Avengers head back into battle. Teaming up together, they continue to try and push Kang back as we look up to the sky to see another Earth about to crash down into this one. But Kang continues to overwhelm them. Meteors rain down from the sky as Reed asks Thor and Captain Marvel to try and destroy some of the meteors. Loki once again opens another doorway and brings the heroes back to the TVA. Kang gets tired of trying to attack these heroes and heads back to the Void. Reed asks Loki to send them back because they need to protect the people of the city from the incursion. Loki's about to tell him about the other universe plan, but Reed shuts him down, telling him that he wants to try and save both. Loki tells him it isn't possible and they need to make a choice. Natasha steps up and tells Loki that they will go over to the other universe and try to destroy it. Reed hates this outcome but chooses to go along with it. Loki takes a group of heroes with him over to Universe 292. When they arrive, they see Doctor Doom talking to that universe's heroes. Loki tries to talk to the other heroes, but Doctor Doom has convinced them that these heroes are the ones trying to destroy their universe. A battle begins as it's 616 versus 292. Sam fights against Bucky, who became Captain America on this Earth, as his best friend Steve joined the war and died. Reed and Sue face alternate variants of themselves as both Reeds try to convince each other about the destruction of their Earths. Doom tries to take down Loki and take his powers for control of the multiverse. Doom lands a devastating attack on Loki as the 616 heroes look on in shock. Loki looks over to Thor as he smiles and says,
Come find me.
as the copy of Loki disappears. Doom gets angry and heads back to his castle in the void. Heroes from the 292 universe are confused as Shang-Chi tells them that Doom had manipulated them to try and distract them from the real threat. As the heroes look up, they notice that the Earths are about to collide. As the Earth begins to shake, a doorway opens leading back to the TVA. The 616 heroes run towards it, telling the 292 heroes to join them and help them take down Doom. Running together as a big team, both Earths begin to fall apart. As the 616 heroes jump through the doorway, along with Simon Williams from the 292 universe, he turns around and sees his team get completely wiped out by the incursion. Back at the TVA, everyone is upset to see their worlds just gone. Suddenly, Wolverine shows up and is baring his claws against Doctor Strange, asking what happened. Peter tells him to calm down as only a few members of the X-Men show up. The TVA had saved the 616 X-Men to have them help take down Doctor Doom and Kang. After informing the X-Men of what's happening, they all gear up and get ready for battle. Walking through a doorway, the heroes arrive in the void in front of Doom's castle, ready for the fight ahead. Kang walks out of the castle, ready to fight the heroes. Charging into battle, Thor throws Stormbreaker as the X-Men try to surround Kang. Putting up another shield, the X-Men back away as Hulk and Spider-Man land heavy slams on him. Cyclops uses his optic blast to push Kang away. Kang blocks it as Gambit begins to blow up the damaged battlefield around him, sending him flying. Rogue grabs him and throws him even further into the air as Cyclops tells Storm to tell him the forecast. Storm sends a massive lightning bolt, shocking Kang as he falls into a crater. Kang begins to stand up, struggling at first. He looks up at the top of the crater and sees Shang-Chi. A sudden calmness washes over Kang as he sees the 10 rings begin to glow brighter. He smiles, looking upon Shang-Chi as he activates something in his gauntlet. Suddenly, the rings begin to hum, synchronizing with his tech. Shang-Chi is confused as he looks down at the rings. "You think you mastered them?" Kang says. "They were never mythical relics. They were prototypes." The rings continue to hum as they slowly start getting pulled off of Shang-Chi's arms. Walking up the crater, Kang says, "The rings were forged in the 31st century. You call them rings. They are really quantum temporal regulators, designed to stabilize timelines during my conquest." Color shifts on the rings from an orange glow to a purple one. Kang walks up to the top of the crater as Shang-Chi attacks first, using the rings in ways Kang never thought of, such as launching himself into the air and sending them underground to make shockwaves. Kang is only studying him. He begins to strike, countering moves before Shang-Chi can even finish doing them. He gets in close and whispers, "Every strike you throw at me, I've already seen it." He targets his vital spots again from an earlier fight. Kang puts some distance between them as he raises his gauntlet and the rings stop responding to Shang-Chi. Sliding off his arm, the rings make their way towards Kang as the rings merge with his armor, and his tech evolves. Shang-Chi struggles to his feet, but Kang freezes him in a localized time lock. Kang kneels in front of him saying, "You were worthy, just not destined," releasing a controlled blast that knocks Shang-Chi unconscious. Kang is no longer angry. Instead, he feels fulfilled. In the distance, Doom opens a large tear in the void as we see the Yggdrasil tree. Doom turns around to see the heroes quickly rush over to him as the tear begins to close. Kang opens a temporal doorway, sending him into the Yggdrasil tree. Doctor Strange and Wanda use their magic to create a portal, getting them closer to Doom. Making it through the portal and past the rift, it closes, leaving the rest of the heroes in the void. Wanda and Strange look up and see the massive Yggdrasil tree. Going inside the tree, we see Doctor Doom walking up the stairs of the old citadel that He Who Remains once lived in. Doom walks over to Loki, uses his magic to absorb Loki's powers, and throws him off the throne. This causes the multiverse to become unstable and starts to run out of control. Strange and Wanda portal over to Doom and are trying to help contain the madness. Strange looks over at Doom, telling him that he can't stop this, but he could. Doom replies with, I won't be able to save everything. Strange replies with, we can at least save something. Doom works his magic as we see Kang the Conqueror jumping in and sets up a time lock to hold Doom captive. Doom yells, "What are you doing?" Kang walks past him, looking at Doom as his body is stuck, but his magic is still in use. Kang unleashes the 10 rings as they grow to a massive size to try and stabilize the timeline. He begins his conquest over the multiverse to rule over it as its infinite ruler. However, Doom's willpower is stronger than Kang's as he breaks out of the time lock, uses his magic to send Kang back to the void, and swiftly removes the gauntlet from his arm that is controlling the 10 rings. Landing back in the void, Kang's helmet comes down as he lets out the loudest scream as we see Dr. Doom using the rings to save something from all the fragments as the multiverse explodes into a fade of light. The mid-credits scene shows the multiverse getting destroyed on a screen in the TVA. That's when a new type of multiversal traveler shows up offering help with this new world that's being made, as we see on screen the different pieces of different worlds building up a new one. The post-credit scene shows a man walking out of a castle over a vast and lively world that looks different from the one we remember, as the man walks back inside and opens up a door that reveals a white suit of armor. That was my take on Avengers Doomsday. Obviously, I don't think that's what's going to happen in the actual movie. However, this show will be representing an epilogue to Doomsday. Our next project in Phase 6 is Captain Britain, taking place outside of space and time. The multiverse has been destroyed. Reality as we know it has changed. We pull out to see the TVA working on trying to locate what happened to Loki, yet they can't get a reading on him. That's when they call in some help from Brian Braddock, also known as Captain Britain, a multiversal hero that is above the TVA. Think of them as the multiversal military. Captain Britain tells the TVA that he was the only one to escape the explosion from the multiverse. He looks over at a screen showing different pieces of the multiverse slowly begin connecting together. The TVA asks Captain Britain to go and check out this new world that is being created and to report back to them. He leaves through a TemPad door to this new world, but in that moment, the TVA is destroyed. Captain Britain arrives in a world that looks like a wasteland but slowly turning into something more. Looking up into the sky, he can see large masses of land merging together. Flying up into the air, he looks around to see a large castle in the distance, along with different borders being put in place for different sections. Suddenly, he gets hit by a metal shield that knocks him out of the sky. He looks over to see the shield come back to a man in a red and black combat gear. The once former Avenger that stood for freedom has now been converted to the enemy's secret weapon that stands for chaos. Captain Hydra, a corrupted Steve Rogers from another universe that helped Hydra during World War II. Captain Britain tries to reason with him, asking Steve what's happening and where they are. Steve doesn't have time to talk and begins attacking Captain Britain. Steve and Brian begin fighting it out as Brian notices that Steve seems to be stronger and faster than the 616's Steve. Brian eventually gets the upper hand on Steve and tries to take him back to the TVA. He tries to call for a door to open, but he gets no response. He opens up a TemPad that was given to him and finds out that the TVA can't be located. Brian asks Steve if he knows what that castle is in the distance. He says, "I just got here, so I know just as much as you do, man." Brian decides to fly over to the castle and gets captured by a bunch of metal robots. He gets taken to the throne where he meets a man in all white armor. Brian stands up to confront this man, but he just flicks his finger, which forces Brian to the ground. Brian is in shock to see that someone is this strong. Steve walks into the room, pointing his gun at Brian's head. The man in white armor asks,
What do you think of Captain Rogers, Brian? I was wondering when you would make it here.
Steve looks confused as the man tells him that he picked a part of his universe to bring to his world. Brian asks, "Your world?" The man stands up and asks Steve to be a member of his royal guard and serve as one of his protectors of this new world. Steve agrees as the man kneels down in front of Brian and tells him,
This is my world, where I rule as Emperor. Welcome to Battleworld.
The mid-credits scene shows Brian sitting in a cell designed to dampen his powers, keeping him prisoner. Steve walks over to Brian to thank him for bringing him here, because now he can start forming a new team that the man in white armor calls the Dark Avengers. The post-credit scene shows Spider-Man waking up on the ground completely lost and confused as to what happened. He stands up and starts swinging through the city. Along the way, he finds Miles as they look out into the city to see nothing but chaos and destruction. Peter senses something coming as an old threat attacks them on the roof. It's Dr. Octopus. Our next project in Phase 6, I really hope you guys like it. Spider-Man, the Sinister Six, taking place on Battleworld. Peter and Miles swing around the city looking for any other heroes that can help them, but find no one. It's also like the city has been abandoned and yet feels full at the same time. Miles tries to find his parents while Peter looks for MJ and Mayday. Anyone they have close to them is nowhere to be found. Peter notices a castle in the distance, thinking it could be a good place to start looking for the other heroes. However, Miles tells him it's too far away to swing. Suddenly, both of their spider senses go off as a metal arm attacks them. It's Dr. Octopus. Otto wants to take his revenge on Spider-Man for putting him away in prison. As an epic fight ensues between them, Peter is about to strike Otto as Sand starts pulling him away. Sandman has arrived and started attacking Peter. Miles used his Venom Blast to cause a distraction, allowing both of them to escape. Otto looks at Sandman, asking where they went. Sandman looks confused as he looks out into the city. Otto asks him if he could help take his revenge on Spider-Man. He agrees and wonders if they will be enough since Spider-Man was able to take them both down by himself. Out of nowhere, a strange square-shaped door opened. Otto and Sandman walk through it as they arrive inside the castle. Dr. Doom looks down at them, asking if they want to be part of his army. Otto asks why they should, and Victor tells him he can give them anything they want. Otto wants revenge on Spider-Man. Victor tells him that he could send them to other villains that Spider-Man has fought to assemble a team. Otto agrees, and they walk through another doorway. On the other side, they arrive in a jungle and meet Kraven the Hunter. Back in the city, Peter and Miles continue to look for other heroes while planning a way to take down Dr. Octopus. Peter senses something as a bolt of lightning charges at him. Dodging it just in time, he sees Electro, a villain that Peter took down shortly after coming back from being blipped, as Miles jumps in front of him, absorbing the electricity. Both Spider-Men work together to stop Electro. After stopping Electro and webbing him up, an arrow is shot at him, breaking the webs. Miles wonders if that could be from Hawkeye or Taskmaster. Peter looks up to see Kraven with Otto and Sandman. Both Spider-Men prepare for battle as it was 4 against 2 now. Miles took on Electro and Sandman, while Peter fought Otto and Kraven. With Miles' abilities, he was able to hold his own while struggling due to exhaustion and still worrying about his family. Kraven was about to kill Peter when webs attached to him, pulling him away. Peter looks at Miles in confusion since he didn't shoot his webs at him. That is when we see Kraven get hit by a white and black spider hero as she joins in the fight. Sandman puts up a storm, allowing the villains to escape. Peter and Miles ask who she is as she takes off her mask, saying, "My name is Gwen Stacy," or Spider-Gwen. Peter is in shock upon seeing this as he removes his mask, leaving Gwen shocked. They both explain what happened in their universes, with Gwen saying that she lost her boyfriend Peter many years ago, and Peter saying the same about Gwen. This gives them both the chance to apologize for not saving each other and wish they could have done better. Miles jumps in, telling them it's a very touchy moment, but they need to get back on the move. Gwen tells them that she has been making her way towards the castle to see if anyone is there, while Miles remains cautious about the idea. On their way to the castle, they meet another villain who caused Gwen some problems in her universe, Mysterio. She tells them that in her universe, Mysterio convinced her to kill her own father through his illusions. This is when Peter and Miles start seeing illusions of their family asking for help, but what really sends Peter over the edge is seeing an illusion of Aunt May. Gwen snaps him out of it as they take down Mysterio, or at least they think they do. As he falls through another doorway, making it inside the castle, they sneak into a strange laboratory where a man floats in a large tank of liquid. Peter looks more closely and sees that it's Eddie Brock floating in the tank. Peter gets him out as he begins to wake up. He tells Eddie that they will get him out of here as the other villains suddenly ambush them. Eddie hides behind the tank as another battle ensues. Working together, they take down each other as Eddie starts hearing voices in his head, telling him to jump into the fight and take down Spider-Man. Eddie refuses as the voice gets louder, saying,
Fine, I'll do it myself.
Eddie begins to transform as black goo covers his entire body, and a white spider symbol emerges on his chest. Peter senses this. As he turns around, he is grabbed by a large hand and asks, "Who are you?" Eddie looks at Spider-Man, saying,
We are Venom.
as the fight between Venom and Spider-Man takes place. The fight takes them out of the laboratory and into the castle's main hall. Spider-Man tries his best to take down Venom, but it's a lot harder for him than he expected since he is fighting something that he once used as a suit and knows how it works. Miles and Gwen try to step in, but get captured by Dr. Doom. Venom and Spider-Man continue outside into a courtyard to continue the fight. Peter is on the brink of death as Venom drops him to the ground. Dr. Doom walks over to Spider-Man, saying,
Long time no see, Peter Parker. Thank you for training my army up for the real battle.
Dr. Doom grabs Peter and puts him inside a prison cell next to Miles, Gwen, and Captain Britain. Dr. Doom sits on his throne as he looks at his new villain team, saying,
You did well capturing those spider heroes. I expect you to continue taking down other heroes in the battle to come. My Sinister Six.
The mid-credit scene shows Dr. Doom looking out into his courtyard where we see many villains from the past, like Spider-Man villains, X-Men villains, and even old Avengers villains. Dr. Doom declares this to be their new home and will serve under him, with each one of them getting a section of their own area to rule over. The post-credit scene shows Peter is being held up in his cell as he talks with Brian about how he got here and if there's a way out. Brian tells him there isn't, or at least not yet. A door opens as we see Kang walk down the hallway telling them to stay quiet as he throws members of the Defenders in prison cells. Kang walks out saying, You heroes deserve what's coming to you, for your time in the spotlight is over. Alright everyone, this is the final project of the Multiverse Saga's Phase 6. This is the one that has taken me the longest time to work on. I think it's at a good standing point, and I really hope you guys enjoy this, as it will conclude the entire series. Our final project is Avengers Secret Wars, taking place on Battleworld. The multiverse didn't shatter, it collapsed. Reality after reality folded in on itself until there was nowhere left to run. When the dust settled, only one world remained, a stitched together nightmare of broken universes, floating continents, and clashing laws of physics. They called it Battleworld, and at its center stood a god. Dr. Doom sits on his throne as we see Captain Hydra and Kang the Conqueror. We see Dr. Doom looking at a man on his knees in chains. Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four is a prisoner. Doom looks at an old friend but is filled with hatred as a woman walks out from behind the throne, shown to be Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman. Reed is devastated and angry at what Doom has done to his wife, as we see him get thrown in his dungeon. While he is down there, he meets other heroes in prison cells. Peter is glad to see a familiar face and asks Reed how they could get out. Reed is still in shock over what he saw with Doom. but he pushes those emotions down and begins working on a plan to escape. Looking at another part of Battleworld, we see Magneto ruling as a mutant king, trying to protect other mutants as a haven. From the power of Doctor Doom, he was able to manipulate members of the X-Men to help work with him. While not every member could be controlled, there are mutants on the run from others. We see Cyclops on the run, firing blasts at his old teammates. As Angel blocks his path, Sam Wilson's shield knocks him to the ground. Following him were Shang-Chi, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, and Wonder Man. Sam asks Scott to join his resistance. Back at their hideout, Sam tells Scott they are looking for people who still remember life before Battleworld. Scott, confused, realizes that not everyone in this new world remembers who they are. Doom walks outside to see a lifeless Galactus in the center of his castle with his eyes on fire, as we see Johnny Storm acting like a power source for the ancient Celestial. A variant of Doctor Strange appears, telling him they have located the members of the Resistance near the outskirts of Genosha. Doom sends out the Sinister Six to try and capture these heroes and bring them to him. Led by the Green Goblin, the villains of Spider-Man head out on a hunt. Doom sits down on his throne as Sue walks up next to him, trying to comfort him. She tries to remove his mask as Doom grabs her hand. She tells him it's okay to take his mask off. Doom doesn't believe that as we see his scarred face. Sue asks Doom if he has all this power, why can't he fix his face to fix his self-image? Doom tells her that he tried, but for some reason the universe wouldn't allow it. He puts the mask back on and heads into a strange room. We see America Chavez opening and closing portals. To make things worse, she isn't punching a normal wall. She is punching Ben Grimm, destroying and rebuilding him over and over again. Doom has made her do this ever since he captured her. This way he can see if his world is the only world. Back with Sam Wilson's team, we see them walking through a field as they enter the land of Hulks. Kamala asks what happened to the people of this land. Moon Knight says the leader took some of Hulk's blood and gave it to other people to make more of him, with Bruce Banner in charge. As they stand at the front doors to Hulk's castle, Samuel Stearns walks out saying that Hulk will not be speaking with anyone today. Sam doesn't care and moves past him. As soon as the doors open, Hulk rushed out of his castle, attacking Sam. The heroes stand ready to fight the Hulk as his anger is fueling his strength. Sam tries to talk with Bruce, but Hulk refuses to listen. Wonder Man notices the leader hiding behind a building, while a nearby telepath realizes the leader is controlling the Hulk. Revealing herself, Emma Frost can enter the leader's mind and stop his control over Bruce as Wonder Man comes in to knock him out. Hulk reverts to Bruce Banner as the heroes rush to his aid. Bruce wakes up and takes the heroes down to his lab to discuss where they are. Inside the lab, we see Ant-Man, Captain Marvel, Clea, and Professor X. Scott is surprised to see the professor again as Charles rolls up to him, and they share a heartfelt moment between teacher and student. Charles and Bruce tell the heroes that they were sent to a strange new world created by Doctor Doom where he rules over all. He has turned some heroes into villains and villains into his personal army. Clea tells them that Doctor Doom pulled heroes and villains from other parts of the multiverse into this world. Captain Marvel tells Sam that if they want to stand a chance against Doom, they'll have to venture into the realm of the Void. In that part of the world, there is a powerful entity known as the Void, which sends anyone who enters into their darkest nightmares. If they can work together and make it into the Void in free Sentry, they will be able to take Doom down and try to fix everything. Near the outskirts of Genosha, the Sinister Six work on tracking down the members of the Resistance. Kraven can sense something as T'Challa leaps out of a bush and attacks him, along with Kate Bishop, Wolverine, Jubilee, Iceman, Deadpool, and Storm. An epic battle ensues as a third group of heroes arrive to help fight against the Sinister Six. With the arrival of the Thunderbolts, Red Hulk, and Blade, the Six were defeated. The groups merge as they continue to walk around the barren wasteland, which Deadpool comments looks a lot like the Void from Loki Season 1, Episode 5. Logan tells them to ignore Deadpool as they near the other side of the Void Realm. As both groups walk into the Void Realm, a single figure emerges. Mr. Sinister steps out from the shadows to attack the heroes. Yelena tells T'Challa that she knows who created the Void, and if she can make it to him, the Void should vanish. The Thunderbolts split up from the group and travel deeper into the Void. As they make it to the center, they see the real Sinister next to Bob. Yelena demands that he let Bob go as the fight breaks out between Sinister and the Thunderbolts. With Songbird and Red Hulk, they were able to kill Sinister and stop the Void. As the land is brought back to life, Bob wakes up confused but happy to see his team again, but most importantly, Yelena. Yelena is glad to have Bob back as T'Challa's team arrives. Suddenly, an explosion goes off as we see War Machine along with the Guardians of the Galaxy and Nova. They arrive to place the Resistance members under arrest for crimes against Battleworld and for erasing the Void Realm. Another fight breaks out as the space cops try to arrest T'Challa's Avengers. The teams are evenly matched and are about to kill each other as Professor X rolls up using his powers to subdue the heroes and break the shackles of Doom's hold on them. Star-Lord wakes up confused, wondering where they are. Back at Doom's castle, Doctor Strange brings in his report on the Sinister Six and Mr. Sinister's death in battle against the Resistance. Doom screams in anger and shoots energy blasts towards the sky, turning everything into a shade of dark green. Doom asks Strange about the Guardians of the Galaxy, with Strange telling him the heroes broke his hold on them. Doom considers his next move. He tells Strange to send out that team as he walks away. Down in the dungeon, we see Doom walk up to a cell that looks like it's meant to hold someone much stronger. Inside, we see Loki, the previous holder of the multiverse, in chains. Doom asks him to lend him more of his power. Loki refuses as Doom grabs him by the throat and punches him in the stomach, absorbing his powers. He looks at him in the eyes and says,
I wasn't asking.
He walks out of the room as we see shadows of stronger threats keeping watch over Loki. Back at the wasteland, all the hero teams have reunited and are ready to storm Doom's castle. Before they could begin to look for the castle, a doorway opened as Doom had sent out the Dark Avengers to hopefully take care of the heroes. From the sky, we see Kang the Conqueror, Captain Hydra, Ragnarok, Crimson Widow, and Ronan landing on the ground. The heroes look on as they see evil counterparts of Earth's mightiest heroes. Memories from the past begin to flow through them. Kang leads the charge into battle as the fight for control continues. Sam and T'Challa's team go after Kang. The Thunderbolts and members of the X-Men go after the Dark Avengers. Kang begins to overwhelm the heroes as Captain Hydra struggles against Bucky and the others. Crimson Widow and Ronan have already been defeated, only Ragnarok was left. As Red Hulk was about to land the finishing blow on Ragnarok, Doctor Strange showed up and stopped him. A final battle between Steve and Bucky takes place as Bucky tries to change Steve's mind and join their side. Steve doesn't care what Bucky has to say and shoots him. Bucky falls to his knees as John Walker shows up using his raw strength to push him out of the way. Sam notices this and leaves the battle with Kang, and as the smoke clears, Captain America stands before Steve. Sam is tired of all the pain and anger and unleashes all of his skills and strength against Steve as he battles him to the end. Doctor Strange fights off Songbird, Captain Marvel, Wonder Man, and Hulk. Ragnarok works on the X-Men, and Kang works on the rest. Dr. Doom views the battle from his castle and wonders if he could call in his stronger team to finish the fight. Strange is about to wipe out the heroes as Professor X uses his powers to invade his mind. He looks around and finds some of his old memories and brings them into the light. Strange wakes up and questions where he is and what he's doing. Doom notices this and sends out his stronger team. With Doctor Strange on their side, they take care of Ragnarok and Kang. Damaged and beaten, the heroes had won the battle but still had to win the war. Strange apologizes for anything he's done to the heroes and wants to help them take down Doom. He knows where his castle is, and if they make it there, they can rescue some of the other heroes that are being held captive. Making their way towards the castle, Doom looks out over his kingdom and sees the heroes coming. Walking back inside, he commands his stronger team to handle them. A spear comes crashing down to the ground, stopping the heroes in their tracks. Namor flies down from above. From the shadows of the castle, King Thanos walks out, and behind him walks Eddie Brock as he changes and morphs into Venom. And from behind the heroes, a portal opens, and Infinity Ultron arrives. Suddenly, a large dome appears around the heroes, huddling them together as the Invisible Woman appears and leads the charge. Sam is confused about what to do next as Cyclops walks over to him, saying everything is going to be okay and that if they work together, they can stop them. Professor X telepathically speaks to all the heroes, telling them they need to divide and conquer. If they work on taking down one of them at a time, they will win. The Avengers and the Thunderbolts work together to take down Namor and the Invisible Woman, while the X-Men work on stalling Infinity Ultron. Doctor Strange opens a portal into the prison of Doom's castle. He opens up the cells, releasing the heroes and apologizing for giving all the power to Doom. He tells Reed that he still has Ben and Johnny in other parts of the castle. He opens a portal to let the other heroes join the fight on the surface as Strange and Reed head off to save the rest of the Fantastic Four. The rematch between Spider-Man and Venom begins. Miles and Gwen join in to help as the rest of the Defenders join in to help the Avengers. Namor gets beaten to the ground as King Thanos head into battle. Strange finds America Chavez and Ben Grimm in pure pain as Strange releases the spell that Doom put on America and Reed rushes to Ben's side. Strange stays with Ben and America Chavez as he opens up another portal that leads him to Johnny. Reed finds and frees Johnny, which causes the once living celestial Galactus to come crashing down. Doom hears this and sees Reed and Johnny. He starts attacking them as Strange opens another portal, pulling them through. Doom is furious as his kingdom is about to become overrun with heroes. A rematch between the Avengers and King Thanos takes place as Hulk goes on a rampage, using all of his strength to bring him down. King Thanos comes from a universe where he defeated all the Avengers and is much stronger than they are. Thanos is about to kill Sam Wilson as a huge explosion erupts, as a variant of Iron Man and Wasp show up to save the day and help kill Thanos for good. All that's left is Venom and Infinity Ultron. Spider-Man finds it harder to fight in an open area with no buildings to swing from other than the castle. And as Ant-Man notices this, he grows to a large size, allowing the spider heroes to swing from him and take down Venom. As the Avengers and Thunderbolts regroup with the X-Men, they work together to take down Infinity Ultron. Struggling to stay alive, all groups try to focus their attacks on a single point, but it's not enough. That's when Ultron's metal casing begins to tear apart from his body as Magneto and his team of X-Men show up to help. Professor X says that he used his powers not just on the heroes in this area, but also on Magneto and his X-Men, while also using his powers to break Doom's hold on them. Together, using combined attacks from Iron Man, Wonder Man, Captain Marvel, Shang-Chi, Songbird, Storm, Wanda, Magneto, Cyclops, and Captain Britain, Infinity Ultron is killed. Another portal opens up as Strange, Ben, America Chavez, Reed, and Johnny step through. All the heroes are in one place and have defeated every last enemy, and all that remains is Doom. Before the heroes can storm the castle, Professor X also invades Susan Storm's mind and brings her back to reality, reuniting the Fantastic Four once again. Storming the castle as Doom sits on his throne, Doom laughs at them. He blasts them all with his magic, with only Strange, America Chavez, and Miss Marvel shielding themselves. Doom begins to make quick work of the heroes as he kills the Defenders. Spider-Man, seeing this, is full of rage. Hulk lands near him, telling him to stop holding back and to let your full strength out. He throws Spider-Man and uses his webs to capture Doom. It does nothing, as he then kills the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yelena runs up to Bob and tells him to use his powers. Bob hesitates because he doesn't want to bring out the Void. Yelena tells him that the Void won't come out and that he can control it. Bob focuses and turns into the Sentry, but as he turns around, a large blast kills US Agent, Red Guardian, Blade, and Songbird. In a heap of rage, Sentry unleashes his full power and anger as he pursues Doom. He grabs him and throws him high into the sky, quickly slamming him down to the ground, where Red Hulk and Hulk use their combined strength to try and smash him to death. It isn't enough. He shrugs them off and goes after Sentry. Miles and Gwen remember hearing something about Loki as they head back into the castle to try and find him. Doom continues his assault on the heroes while trying to deal with the Sentry. Using his magic, he takes Sentry's powers, reverting him back to Bob as Doom kills him. Yelena sees this, gets angry, and uses all her training to attack Doom. Bucky joins her in an assault, but just kills them too. Miles and Gwen reach Loki's cell and bust down the doors. Loki looks up as Gwen opens his restraints. Miles tells him what's happening up there, with Loki saying,
You need to take me to Doom.
Doom looks on at the remaining heroes as Wanda, Doctor Strange, Magneto, Captain Marvel, and Iron Man form a powerful attack to try and kill him. Doom fights them off like it's nothing as he continues his attacks. He starts killing members of the X-Men, saying,
Your canon event was your extinction, mutants.
Killing Beast, Iceman, Colossus, Angel, Emma Frost, and Jubilee. Doom stands up and makes eye contact with Wolverine. Bub, you made a grave mistake killing my family. Wolverine jumps into battle trying to kill Doom. Doom isn't impressed by him, but he does fear his animalistic nature. Deadpool jumps in to help out alongside Hulk and Spider-Man. Deadpool tells Quicksilver and knockoff Jean Grey to help them. Miles and Gwen rush Loki to the surface as they see members of the X-Men, Thunderbolts, Defenders, and Guardians of the Galaxy killed. The Avengers and Fantastic Four do their best to try and stop Doom as he slowly kills members of the Avengers. Loki looks on in shock to see what Doom has done to the multiverse. He slowly gathers his strength back the closer he gets to Doom. Doom notices he's getting weaker as he looks and sees Loki. Charging each other, the rematch between Doctor Doom and Loki begins. Whoever was left tries to help those to their feet in case they need to fight again, as the battle sends earthquakes through Battle World as it begins to crack and fall apart. Loki doesn't have time to focus on the other heroes and uses his magic to absorb Doom's abilities, bringing him back to normal. Unfortunately, Loki struggles to hold all that power as Doctor Strange, Wonder Man, Mr. Fantastic, and Wanda come in to help keep it together. Loki thanks them, then thinks it over and tells them to get back as he lets the energy release. It kills everyone and destroys Battleworld, leaving only Loki left. Looking at the branches of timelines that Battleworld was created from, Loki grabs the strands again. He begins to rebuild the universe, fixing anything Doctor Doom changed while in control, as a white light flashes, resetting everything. We see through the eyes of Miles Morales as he wakes up as if nothing had happened. He looks out his window as we travel through the city and see Avengers Tower, the Baxter Building, the Daily Bugle, and the X-Mansion. Miles jumps out his window and swings through the city as we see Spider-Man next to him, Human Torch flying past him, Iron Man taking down MODOK again, Songbird and the Thunderbolts training, Deadpool running across the rooftops, Storm, Rogue, and Captain Marvel fly through the air, Hulk jumping from street to street going after the Abomination, Reed Richards and Sue Storm launching a new space device. Back at the X-Mansion, we see Wolverine ride up on his motorcycle as Professor X rolls up with a smile. We zoom out of the Earth and the universe into the vast emptiness of time and space as we see the timeline on track. We zoom quickly back onto the timeline and see Thor and Loki looking out over Asgard as their new kings, as the heroes of this world had saved it in secret.